Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part. So make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch, including the Is It Though design. Look how beautiful. Look how beautiful. Only at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a Discord server. It is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having interesting conversations. It is a great place to meet new people. And like I said, it is absolutely free to join. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below the video, hit that join button. There's a few different tiers, but it starts at just $2.99 a month. Gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So yes, it is free to join, but there's extras for members, including the voice channel where we have our after party. As soon as we are done here, heading over there, we don't have to worry about any kind of YouTube censors, and you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. We are actually going to be watching Captain America tomorrow. So come on through, join us. And yeah, it is a very good time. Shout out to TV Viewerski. Welcome to the party. How are you doing? So I'm actually quite excited about this one today. It's been a while since we've talked about masculinity and dating and any of those kinds of things, because it seemed like all the no, not the first adventure, the brand new one that just came out. So join up. I have my ways. So we're watching the new Captain America tomorrow afternoon. But yes, we haven't talked about that stuff in a while, because it seems like all the discussion around that trained into this manosphere red pill male feminist, and I say male feminist as you know they're the male versions of feminists, and it just got to be such a pointless discussion. But shout out to Sean Ryan, who runs the Sean Ryan Show. He's a Marine and definitely a good example of masculinity. And I actually wasn't super familiar with him. We've covered him a couple times, but yeah, apparently everybody loved him, and I was just missing out. So shout out to our girl Brett Cooper, who is back in action, and this is actually her first podcast episode. And I thought, let's check it out. Let's learn a little bit about Sean Ryan and get back into masculinity. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
So I'm guest number one.
You're guest number one.
What an honor.
I know. I'm very excited. No, I'm honored that you came. I wanted actually to start off by asking you, who was your first guest? Do you remember?
Mike Glover.
That's a great first guest.
Mike, do you know Mike?
I do.
Yeah, Mike Glover. We worked together at the agency. He was a Green Beret and then started Fieldcraft Survival. But
I love Fieldcraft. It's great. I think
Good
that
stuff.
Fieldcraft has inspired all of my husband's prepping.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where he goes for all of his information. What took you from doing your tactical training and your gun videos into interviews?
Thank you, sir.
I just got kind of tired of doing gun training. I mean, you know, I had a 14-year career in the SEAL teams and at CIA, and then I was training people, and it really took off like really fast. And I trained Keanu Reeves for John Wick 3. That created like a lot of controversy that I'd rather not go into, but it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth with the whole tactical genre. And so I didn't really know what I was going to do, but podcasting was obviously getting pretty big, and I was going to do that. And I was doing reviews. And I tried a reality show, like a survival reality show.
Wait, did you go on one?
No. I was having patrons
Like a Marine reality. I would watch that.
on my Patreon come
Okay.
into town, and I would run them through a scenario. Like I think the first one was, hey, you got like $100 and the end of the world's happening, and you can go to Bass Pro and buy whatever you want, but it's $100. And then I would grade them on like what they bought. We got some acreage south of where I live, like a lot of acreage. And so I ran them through. What did I do? It was, build a shelter and things to think about, where you're going to build it, how you're going to build it, like longevity, how close to water, all this stuff. And so I sent them out into the woods and gave them a time limit, and we filmed like the process. I think it's still on YouTube.
This is probably the coolest.
So that's like, you know, our old school, traditional classic version of masculinity, just going out and being able to do shit and survive.
Thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, but I was like, if I keep doing this, I'm probably going to get sued. Somebody's going to fall off a cliff or drowned or who
joining
knows.
us.
And I was doing podcasting at the same time, and I just like really liked doing it. I thought I'd be horrible at it because I'm not much of a talker, but I got tired of, I mean, you know, my background, and I wanted guys.
I don't tell us.
Like, I just got sick of the same talking heads talking about Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, what war is like, what it was like on certain raids, about Benghazi. And it was like, nobody's like talking to the people that were there. So I thought it was.
So if you're not familiar at all with Sean Ryan, I'm a little bit familiar with him. So his show is very much, you know, a low-key environment for him and other people who have been in the military zones that and have experienced that type of stuff to come and talk about it. So he's talking about how he used to just do like tactical videos, and then it developed from there. Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party, sir. Very good to see ya. Welcome.
It's about Benghazi, and it was like nobody's like talking to the people that were there. So I thought it was important to document that history. So I started bringing on guys like Mike and people that nobody had ever heard of.
Wanna be like Mike?
Because I couldn't, you know, I couldn't get anybody with any big names. I didn't want big names either. And but I just wanted people that had been there and done that and were on the ground to document history. And everybody knows about the veteran suicide epidemic. So it was guys that had started businesses that found success, or that were trying to find success, because I'd already had maybe 250, 500,000 on my YouTube just from gun videos and tactics and shit like that.
So personally, from having gone to school for psychology, you know, even being the farthest person from anyone who would ever experience that in real life, because I'm a little bit of a pussy, you know, there was a lot of discussion on what, like, how far external things can affect the way you think, and so I had a very academic but pretty in-depth understanding of mechanically, not experientially, and mechanically what can go wrong when you have any type of trauma, and war is typically the place where you would talk about it.
So anyways, we'd talk about, you know, the downward spiral after service and kind of trying to find purpose again. And a lot of guys were doing this through entrepreneurship, and so they would come on, we'd document their wartime experience, document their downward spiral, talk about how they got out of it. And then I would kick it out the door, and like these guys' businesses would just like shoot through the roof, and it was awesome. And so it just stuck, just stuck. And then I wanted to broaden out to be able to talk about other things than just war and suicide attempts and stuff. You know, it's heavy.
I bet. I know experientially gets tiring, because when as soon as I graduated, my first internship, my first walk into the real world of psychology was working at a substance abuse clinic. And I mean, I was still actively using it at the time, but that's a whole other story. And, you know, I had dreams of you know, being the next Dr. Drew. You know, I watched Celebrity Rehab, and this is before I even got into doing drugs myself. And I saw how deeply Dr. Drew could, and people like that could reach into these people's lives and turn them around. And I found that amazing. And then I found that inspiring, even though I had not yet been a drug addict. I had my own issues, and to learn that you can be down and then come up, that's really what drove me. And so I ended up you know, I went from 8th grade. I was doing human behavior classes, went to all the psychology related stuff I could take in high school, took the AP test, went through, got my bachelor's. And then the first thing I was doing, like I said, was a substance abuse clinic, but it was like the bottom rung. And so it's like, if you guys have ever been arrested for like a little bit of pot, or a little bit, maybe a tiny little bit of Molly or something, they probably sent you to go and do these courses, or you had to go meet with a person every week. That was me, fresh out of college, actively using drugs, in the you know, and not really sure what to, you know, what to do with these people. And even trying my best, it was obvious that they were just there because a judge sent them, and they were just getting the paper signed. And it was disheartening. And I went to go to other counselors who were working there. They didn't give a shit. They were like, yep, that's what we're here for. Just get it timed. Just get them going. You can't make people do what they don't. And so I was like, this ain't for me. And I ended up working in restaurants for the next 5 years before I became a dog trainer. So I definitely get not wanting to talk about that all the time. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Referencing our running poll. Is it okay to cry in front of other people? The answers being yes, no, or only for a death. Now you'll notice that I didn't specifically put for a man, but I'm most of us here are going to be men, and I think that's where everybody's mind is going to go. But Zippy says crying should be a rare thing. Don't let your emotions win; they will fuck you over, which is more of a mind fuck. Yeah, they definitely will fuck you over. Absolutely, well said. And then ask which is more of a mind fuck, drugs or modern psychology? Absolutely, absolutely modern psychology. Welcome to the party, brother. Very good to see ya. Let's dive back in here.
Heavy war and suicide attempts and stuff. You know, it's heavy content, and infidelity and addiction and all that kind of stuff that kind of goes with the typical special operator lifestyle. And so I started going into cartels, and then
That's much lighter.
yeah. Well, at least it was broadening a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, I think I did like 9 episodes.
Yep.
It was pretty much all spec ops guys, one cartel guy, and then I did this psychedelic journey, and I came back and I just was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm doing. I don't care about what the audience
Hey,
wants.
man.
I don't care. I'm just doing what I want to do. And then it really exploded.
Is that what I should do? So screw you guys. I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. And it doesn't matter if you like it or not. It doesn't matter that I built a channel based around politics and religion. If I want to talk about Love is Blind, then I'm going to do a stream about Love is Blind. I don't think that would work out very well. TV Viersky said, if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry if Hi Lord Morty doesn't get his treat. Well, you guys know every donation comes with a treat for Morty. And of course, don't forget about our swole goal at the top of the chat. Shout out to Bill Bradley. Welcome. Good to see you. Said men should feel their emotions, cannot afford to lose control of their emotions. If a 100-pound woman loses control, it's frustrating. If a 200-pound man does, it is dangerous. Yes, sir. Well said. Yep, prison is full of emotional men. Well said. So he says, psychology, like many things, went corporate. Get them in, get them out. Yep, and I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't know that I was seeing that when I was there. But I definitely saw that there was something screwy going on, and don't get me wrong, I learned a lot from college, but I also learned to maybe think a little bit more critically than the curriculum teaches.
Once I don't care, I'm just doing what I want to do, and then it really exploded.
I was going to ask if you
Shout out to Bryson. Welcome. So I remember the last time I cried. I'm going to guess probably Titanic. Like being on the Titanic or watching Titanic. Either way, acceptable to cry. Welcome. Good to see you.
I'm just doing what I want to do. And then it really exploded.
I was going to ask if you had noticed something that worked and leaned in, or whether it was completely driven by you and your interest, but I guess that answered it there.
Yeah, I was interested in it, but then there's just nobody that could tap into the lives of combat veterans, especially the special operations.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm a little baby bitch when it comes to movies. Anything to do with like father-son stuff or really just parent-kid stuff. Oh my goodness. What do we got here? Shout out to TV Viewerski with the $10 PayPal. Thank you so much. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Oh, you're on my thing, Morty. You're on my thing. Thank you so much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much, sir. Let me add that to the banner. Very, very much appreciated, sir.
Into the lives of combat veterans, especially the special operations crowd, like I have been able to. I credit a lot of that to my therapist, but because I was tooting my own horn here, but because I got so good at it, like the audience just fed off that and they wanted more and more and more and more. I mean, we're getting guys with huge kill counts, lots of
Thank you again, sir. Everybody put TVV in the chat. Save me from crying in public. What? Yeah, you definitely shouldn't be crying in public. Definitely shouldn't be crying in public. That was the first iteration of the poll. It was going to be in public. But then I was like, well, public is like that's too broad. You definitely should not ever be crying in public unless again, unless maybe the funeral or like if you've seen something wild, but like just out at the park, like come on, man, keep it together. Keep it together.
Guys with huge kill counts, lots of combat, like the toughest people in the world, they come on and they like break down and cry. And to like see a man like that be vulnerable, like it just captivates millions of people. And so
so now again, talking about masculinity and talking about crying, it definitely depends on the situation, because there's one thing about where you feel comfortable expressing emotion. We could stay away from crying specifically, but where you feel comfortable expressing emotion is going to be different for everybody. But what society sees as what is acceptable for you to express emotion is going to be very different. And so there's a balance, like Bill and Zippy were saying. Being a man, being masculine is not about not having emotions. It's about mastering them and being in the right mindset of this is not the appropriate time. I'm feeling these things, but I can't, do that right now. Yeah, it's different for everybody. Music is live, depending on the situation. Live music. Oh man, live electronic music. They know how to pull those heartstrings. I went to Electric Zoo 5 on Randall's Island, and this was a time when the Twitter was wasn't so broad, and it was a little bit easier to have communities. And so I was there was a lot of people that I knew in that realm where you would go and there would be little mini celebrities, not like the influencer level, but among the crowd of people in that group. They would know, okay, at DJ's boyfriend or at DJ's girlfriend, they're together, and everybody knows them, and some of the DJs respond to them, and all that kind of stuff. And I was there, and there was a whole thing that they got the artist to incorporate the light show and everything, and the guy proposed, and I was just bawling like a little girl. I mean, I was also rolling balls, but hey, it was beautiful.
Vulnerable.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so being crying at the right time,
like it just captivates millions of people. And so I got worried that I was like, man, like I'm never going to be able to do something else. I'm never going to be able to have a female in the chair across from me, or I'm never going to be able to talk to a doctor or
shout out to Lindy Lee,
politician, or whatever I'm interested in, or JoJo Siwa. But
if she's watching, Sean wants her on the show.
But yeah, so then I did that experience, and I was like, fuck it, man. I'm doing whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And if the audience is with me, then they're with me. And if they're not, I don't care. Like,
well, that's another aspect of masculinity there, isn't it, too? Not trying to please a crowd just for the sake of, well, do you like me? Being confident enough in yourself to have the awareness that if you're doing something that is that people don't like, then they're going to tell you, and you are the type of person who can be told that. So you're comfortable doing whatever you want to do. Because somebody says, I don't like it, then you can either say, oh, that's okay, this isn't for you. Or, I should look at myself. Am I doing something that I don't want to be seen doing? And once you decide, hey, I don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. That's a real man.
And if the audience is with me, then they're with me. And if they're not, I don't care. Like, I'm doing this because I want to have fun. I don't want to be a slave to anything.
And you've stayed independent the whole time, basically.
Yeah.
You've had people come and go, but which is very difficult to do. I don't think many have.
Well, congratulations. You're independent now.
I know.
Shout out to Melissa Etheridge. Bill Bradley said, true, masculinity is not following the herd. Meanwhile, femininity is blending into the crowd. That is why more women than men support trans people in sports, even though it impacts them more. That's a very good point. Yeah, the not wanting to rock the boat, even if you're what would be the analogous situation there? Because not rocking the boat, where I don't know, but exactly what Bill is saying. Exactly what Bill is saying. That even though they are the ones that are being affected by having their records, their teams, their leagues trampled over by biological men, well, they just want to be nice. They don't want to be mean. Let everybody in. I'll take second place. I'll take fifth place, even though I'm the best. That's okay. Leading the herd. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Because just because not every man has to be a leader specifically, it doesn't mean that if you're not leading other people that you're not a man. That definitely, if you are leading other men, it definitely is a sign that you're a masculine man. But it's not about being the guy. It's also about understanding your place. And this idea that we talked about when Vivek was still in the presidential race, and I don't remember who it was, but we were watching the PBD podcast, and PBD was talking about this concept that some presidents are trailblazers and other presidents are flag carriers, and they're different. But we need both, or we need one or the other, depending on the time. And saying things like Trump was a trailblazer, and that whoever comes next needs to really be a flag carrier, in the sense that we just had the renegade. Right now, what the most important thing to do in leading the country is making sure everything that was established before continues, and not being so in your own ego that you have to change things and do it. And well, this is because of me. No, things are going well, so let's keep it that way. It's a tough balance, and that's why it's very difficult to talk about. Bill Bradley said men are far more willing to fall into hierarchy when someone shows greater competence than others. Women want to do everything by committee. Yeah, if you've ever seen any of those survival shows, like where they're out in the wild and they separate things by men and women, you always see it's forget the name of the show that I was watching, but they every season they do men and women, and every season at the beginning the men are all fighting and the women are like, see, we just get along, everything's great. Within 2 to 3 challenges, everybody on the men's team knows their place. There might be a little bit of butting heads at the top. Everybody knows their place, and by that same time, the girls' team that had a lead is now falling behind because they can't make their mind up on this, that, or the other. So it's and again, knowing that we are, if we're bringing it back to leading people, then you have to understand how to lead men versus how to lead women, or how to lead a more or less masculine man or a more or less masculine woman. So knowledge and situational awareness is so huge to what masculinity is, at least in my opinion.
Very.
Oh, welcome to the club. It's exciting, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. And you've been so wonderful. And for those who don't know, Sean's here in Nashville and has been a great source of support. So I appreciate it. And that's why I'm so happy that you're the first guest. You brought something up about your therapist.
She giving him the eyes, yo. Is she married?
You were talking about men coming on the show and being able to be vulnerable. I think that there is a prevailing attitude, especially on X, in this like manosphere world, where we kind of have this new caricature of men. And obviously I think that it is a response to the softening of men in our society, obviously, and what people are experiencing, but it feels like we've been pushed in the opposite direction, where men are now these caricatures of, you can't cry, you can't love a woman, you can't get married, you know, being a father's gay.
Yeah, right. And that's that line right there. I was just watching this kind of, for my own enjoyment. And when she said that, that's when I realized that, we need to cover this, because it's we used to talk about it all the time, but the topic has become so, I don't know, what would the term be? It's so like online coded, where it's like this team versus that team, you know what I mean? And it's just not helpful to anybody.
You can't cry, you can't love a woman, you can't get married, you know, being a father's gay. Obviously, you're a husband, you're a father, you have these men who are incredibly, incredibly successful, incredibly brave, probably the most masculine men in our society, and they're coming on and crying. Can you talk about masculinity in your mind and what an accurate representation of masculinity is based on your experience?
All right. So the full Sean Orion masculinity definition right here.
Man, that's a broad question.
It's a big one. I made it broader than it probably should have been.
Look, I think being a man, I mean, if you're not trying to better society, then what the fuck are you doing? It takes,
I mean, let's hear that again.
I mean, if you're not trying to better society, then what the fuck are you doing?
That is such a central part of not necessarily, oh, what am I going to do to better society today? But that should, your life should already be oriented towards adding to society. You should find value from that which improves society. If that's not your starting point, then you fuck it up. Bill Bradley said, to be fair, at this point in the West, masculinity seems to become synonymous with just accepting accountability. If a man cheats, he's a dog. If a woman cheats, it's because the man was neglecting her. Third wave feminism. So I definitely don't disagree with the first part about just accepting accountability. But I feel like that's a lowering of the bar because there is such a lack of masculinity that, like, all right, at least if you'll take accountability for your mistakes, then that's a good start. But yeah, I agree with you. That's way down there you go. Bars on the floor. I mean, in terms of the cheating and the double standards, I think that's kind of a separate thing. I definitely agree with you, but yeah, that's a little bit more into like dating double standards. Yeah, that's a little bit different, but you are definitely right about that.
I mean, if you're not trying to better society, then what the fuck are you doing? It takes being vulnerable. It takes raising kids, and it takes monogamous relationships to better society. I mean, I think, and like anybody that thinks that's like not what it's about. Look at these people that run around their whole life and they jump from woman to woman and they don't have any kids, and then they're 65 years old. Nobody wants them anymore. Nobody gives a shit about them. They've contributed nothing to society. And look at how fucking miserable those people are.
Not only how miserable those people are, but they're so miserable that they then want to make other people miserable. Misery loves company.
Left nothing positive in society that they've made. They've left no marks. They're just lost, lonely souls trying to suck everybody they can into what they've created because they're so fucking lonely they can't even stand it. That's not a good road to go down.
No, and it was something that would be avoided at all costs in the past, but now because of the way that social media has developed, these people can come together and be their own loser community, and then there's a hierarchy within that community, and then you just have communities of people sitting on their phones talking about how great they are and how bad the world is, while everybody else is out here actually making the world better. Can't make this shit up.
I mean, I think every man's got to get, a certain amount of mischief out of their system to become like the man that they're supposed to be. But if you haven't left a mark on society, whether it's your kids or your wife or whoever, your nieces and nephews, what have you done?
Hit me up, ladies. Hit me up. I'm single. Both sides looking good.
And I think that goes for men and women, especially anyway. It's more of a generational thing too, where I think a lot of my generation is floating through and trying to get by, and we self-diagnose very aggressively. That's the thing that Gen Z does. It's like, well, we're all depressed, we're all anxious. We can't change anything. The world is against us. And that mindset, I think, has really held us back, because now my generation's like, well, then why would we even try? Like, we can't change anything. And it's so crippling.
And it's funny because I think millennials, and I'm speaking very broadly here, but I think millennials kind of learned that attitude from Gen X. And then with things continuing to go down the shitter, we kind of realized that, okay, well, it's not really as bad as you guys made it seem. Like, it's definitely shitty. We are not living like the boomers were living, but we can still start a business. We can still run for office. We can still do this. We can still do that. And, I do see a lot of that from Zoomers as well, but the world really isn't a place where most of them probably won't ever be able to afford to buy a home and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, but at a certain point, you got to do something to try to fix it. Bill Bradley says it's hedonism. It's moral relativism combined with placing personal happiness as the highest virtue. Bingo. So they just chase short-term, temporary happiness. Satisfaction should be the highest virtue, harder to attain, but much more sustainable. Raising a family is hard work, but there is satisfaction from that. Well, I'll take your word for it. I don't have any kids, but yeah, exactly. And this goes to the heart of what I always talk about when it comes to the religious aspect of when we're talking about things. It's not the lack of God; it's the lack of moral structure. And so there are many already made moral structures out there that have no God and have nothing to do with Christianity. The problem is that people aren't following them. And it is my assessment that the reason that happens so easily is because American politics posits Christianity as the correct version for the right, and anything non-Christian the correct version for the left. And I don't like it. I don't like it. But you're absolutely right. Hedonism, the desire to put personal happiness as your highest virtue, is what's destroying us. And as Bill says, satisfaction, harder to attain, but much more sustainable. Well said. Shout out to Box in the building. Welcome to the party. Said, is it okay to cry in front of other people? It's okay to cry in front of anyone but your girlfriend or wife. Anybody but them. Smart man. Welcome to the party. Zippy said, in my opinion, it's less monogamy and more maturity. If you're mature enough, you don't fuck around. You can be mature and have a few wives and a large family. It's rare because because modern life is easy, so people choose the easy life. So yeah, I guess I guess we can say it's kind of a not two sides of the same coin, but they go hand in hand. That if you are more mature, you're more likely to want to have a life like this. And if you're less mature, then you're more likely to want to think in a hedonistic manner, where it's like, what is going to personally make me the happiest right now as quickly as possible. So I think it's the a lack of fathers in the home. Yep, women that hate men had a bad or absent father. Most men in prison had no father in the home. Fathers make kids take accountability. Mothers coddle. Usually, that, you know what? I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut there. But absolutely right. And again, Zippy is correct here. Atheists love hedonism. Sadly, so many of them. I'm one of them, an atheist, but I'm not one of them who loves hedonism. But it's true. That's why it's such a difficult game for me to stand on my morals and not pretend that I believe in something that I don't believe, just so you guys will like me better, or some other big channel will want to talk to me, or whatever. Because I have this uphill battle that most people who share the position that I do on this one particular fact, is there a God? They all act like shit. Dad, lives matter. You are goddamn right.
My generation's like, well, then why would we even try? Like, we can't change anything, and it's so crippling.
I mean, when I talk about these guys coming on and getting vulnerable, I mean, I can get to a certain extent. I understand. I mean, these guys aren't fucking crying over spilled milk.
No, not
I mean,
at all.
for
Totally
example,
different.
the last guy that I had on that broke down, it was a really good friend of mine, Chris Fettis, and Chris was on a hostage rescue mission for SEAL Team 6, and he had to kill 2 kids, and he was a sniper. And after that, he just kept having these reoccurring nightmares where he would relive that, and the kids didn't die like right off the bat. In his dream, they would look up and it would be his son's face on the kid that he just shot.
Oh my God. That is horrifying.
And you know, and Chris isn't the only one that has been through an event like that. I mean, we did 20 years alone just in Afghanistan. Yep. Then there's Iraq, Syria, Yemen, all these, Somalia, all these other places. And these guys, you know, men and women that are coming home, they don't know how to deal with this shit. And so when you get a guy like that comes on and he starts to tear up and his emotions, you know, kind of overcome him on display in front of millions of people, that's not like bitching and whining because he got a cut on his finger. I mean, that's
right. And and even more than that, it shows that there is real shit out there to deal with, and that if you've been misgendered, or somebody said that your beliefs are stupid or whatever, that it's fine for you to have whatever emotions you have, but understand that you want to put them in context. You don't want to have tiny things take you out emotionally. Bill Bradley said they put rifles in 14-year-old kids' hands in many places. So they are kids, but they are also combatants. Tough spot for our military. Yeah, and I mean, even outside of that, there are things like they will have a kid. This was, I think this is an American Sniper, or maybe I don't remember. But they're, they have like little kids just like standing waving where they know the military is going to be, and so they're everybody stopped, and they have an IED there, and they blow everybody up, including the kid. And in their ideology, that is that's not only A-okay, but encouraged. So yeah, it can get much worse.
Millions of people. That's not like bitching and whining because he got a cut on his finger. I mean, that's
not weakness either.
That is, I mean, that's a fucking man right there, to be able to come up, open up like that, talk about what he's experiencing, and then all the other combat veterans that have come home that have been through a situation like that. I mean, that's fucking masculinity.
Absolutely. And Box is saying, it was strange. I didn't cry when my dad died. I was too busy taking care of his body with The Undertaker. It hit me 2 years later when I was sitting alone in my car. Broke down once and recovered. That's a common thing if you're the person that everything falls onto when it comes to arrangements, we'll say. Then you're so focused, you go into it's almost like a flight or fight mode, and you go into fight mode where you've got to push through everything, get shit done, and it can be years. I remember when my best friend died, and we were all at the hospital, and when we got the word that he actually had passed, then everybody else broke down, and for some reason I went into shock, and for some reason I went to shock, obviously, but I instead of breaking down, I just went into like, okay, how are we going to move forward? How are we going to and like not quite the same thing in terms of having to deal with his actual body, but the way that you're able to do that shows that you are a real man. I'm shout out to your dad, brother. Bill Bradley, he said in the Iraq-Iran war in the 80s, Iran ran kids through the minefields ahead of the tanks because the kids were easy to replace than the tanks. And this is getting into kind of other territory, but we have to remember that these are the type of people who aren't going to care about the minor moral qualms that we have, and they see us all as the secular world, and they are the religious, not the religious right, as in left right, but the in the right, and by any means necessary can come on over and do this to their own kind as well as us, because God said so. Box said, Jordan Peterson said, you should be the strong person at the funeral, and I tend to agree. I mean, it depends on. I think that depends on which funeral we're talking about. If like let's say your mom's friend passes away, then and you knew him pretty well. I mean, that's probably not the time for you to be the one breaking down more than, probably more important for you to be there for your mom. But I mean, if it's your own parents, if your own best friend, then, I think that if anything, that is the time to be able to let it out.
A situation like that, I mean, that's fucking masculinity, to be able to do that on display in front of millions of people and not worry about being judged.
And to be able to move forward from it and set an example of somebody who can grow and live a productive life and start a family and be that example. I think that a lot of people see, vulnerability or crying, and that in and of itself is, powerful, and it's an important thing, it's an important part of processing.
They show, and me included, I mean, a big theme. I mean, it's not like we have a motto or anything like that, but a theme is, I mean, we bring on the most badass warriors of this generation, of this lifetime. The commonality between all of us is, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to get some help when you're not okay. You don't have to suck.
And this is the other part that I'm like, oh, we've got a show here, because that is the part that's missing from the Andrew Tate Fresh and Fit whatever podcast, all this talk about dating and men and women and masculinity, all that stuff. It's what's the word? It's superficial. It's about seeming masculine for the sake of getting laid. It's about instead of actually living that. And I'm glad that, as an online community in general, not just like us, but I mean, online people seem to have moved away from that in general. But there doesn't seem to have been anything really to replace it. Shout out to Trey Williams. Welcome to the party. So I feel sorry for you guys that can't cry in front of the, I feel sorry for you guys that can't cry in front of your wives or family. Well, joke's on you. I don't have a wife or a family. What's good? I mean, it's I hear you, because I don't feel like I would ever want to spend my life with someone who I didn't think that in those moments where it is okay for a man to cry in societal terms, if she was going to see that and be like, "Ew, oh my God, you're giving me the ick," then yeah, I wouldn't want to be with that person. But girlfriend is very different than wife too. So, and then, you add kids into the mix. Again, don't have kids, but I assume that, that changes the calculus a little bit. But especially if you're just dating, like, bro, it is what it is. They're going to lose that respect. Why are you sitting around crying over spilt milk and girls are still falling over you? I mean, goddamn, you must be a good looking cat then. Welcome to the party. Also, I would say there's almost no wrong way to act if a direct family member dies. Unfortunately, sometimes someone gets the responsibility thrust on them and have to process later. Yeah, that's what Box was just saying. And I agree. I think, when someone that close to you dies, that's all bets are off. All bets are off. All right. Welcome, Trey. Let's dive back in.
Okay. And it's okay to get some help when you're not okay. You don't have to suck it up and be a fucking tough guy all the time. Everybody knows.
No, that's beta, bro. You gotta, you suck it up.
Man,
yeah.
You don't have to prove it anymore.
And it's so hard. I think there's a juxtaposition in our society right now because, again, if we go back to the masculinity conversation, people are definitely overusing therapy, in my opinion, especially young people. People claim PTSD for ridiculous things. They claim they're depressed when they're basically just going through a hard time. That's something that Jordan talks a lot about is
oh my God, my OCD and BPD, like
diluting depression with just going through a normal, challenging part of your life. And I'm sure it's difficult to try to be like, no, I'm not that. And I'm not feeding into those, those weaknesses and the ridiculousness of what our culture has cultivated, but to understand.
Well, that I think is a huge factor in why we've seen the softening of men. Is we've incentivized the victimization of anything, and that includes mental health, and that's the easiest thing to fake if you don't actually have anything to claim as your victim status. Then having a mental health disorder, you go right in there, and especially with the trans stuff now, it's just too easy. Bill Bradley said, all that red pill stuff, I think, was men without fathers in the home looking for masculine role models. You don't look online if you have a good role model in the home that you love and respect. Yeah, I mean, I definitely personally learned a lot of beneficial stuff from that content. And that's why I hate that it was so helpful, because even though, my dad was home and my parents are together and all that stuff, he did work a lot, and I'm not trying to, compare or whatever. I'm just saying what it is. And he also wasn't, my parents are immigrants and not from this country, a little bit different cultures. And I didn't know until like age 30 that, this whole Disney rom-com, girls are sugar and spice and everything nice, and you just gotta be yourself. Like that's what I thought. You just do that. I didn't realize that, how much women my age, whether it was, when I was 15, other 15-year-old girls, when I was 20, other so on and so forth. I didn't realize how much they would be looking at how much money did I have. I did not realize they would be looking like, oh, you're too short. Just being taller than me isn't enough. And so, I mean, there is a lot of true information in what these guys say, but the packaging is, I hate to use the word, but it is pretty toxic. And so it packages some good ideas with some really bad ones. And I hope that something can develop where we can get back to talking about this stuff here, the masculinity, what it is to be a man, without tying it into getting laid and and that, because exactly what Bill is saying, if you have a strong masculine role model for these things, then you're going to be able to see right through that. Unfortunately, a lot of men don't. Shout out to D. Said Ben Shapiro is kind of cute in a dress. I mean, she's not in a dress, but she definitely is cute. Welcome to the party. The red pill stuff was right in their diagnosis, but faulty in their solution. Well said. Welcome to the party. Fox said, asking women what they bring to the table and body count is absurd. I don't know about all that. I mean, asking them, articulating, what do you bring to the table? Yeah, don't do that. But being aware of not giving up your time, emotion, and resources to somebody who's giving you nothing, I don't think that's absurd at all. Not wanting to sleep or be, make a wife out of somebody who has a crazy body count, I don't think that's absurd at all. Not at all. Bill Bradley said the Disney princess stuff had been around for a hot second. The internet made it so women have way more options, so you need more material. When you only had access to your local community, you had to settle. Yep, that's the old adage of like the girl who is living in a small town in Ohio. The men that she was, the men that were in her proximity, 20 miles from where she lives. That's the pool of men that she's choosing from, and that's fine because there's nothing wrong with those men. They're just not famous or rich or I mean, they might be, but they're going to pick her. And so exactly what Bill is saying is that, okay, I'm on this level on the scale. I'm not going to get the richest, best looking guy in the town, but we'll find something more equal. Definitely, if you guys have not seen Homath, I know you might not love the name as respectable to women, but he intellectualizes this stuff very well. Now that exactly, Box, the dating apps now, instead of just the guys around you, it's every guy. So everyone is vying for the very small amount of people, and it doesn't work.
To those, those weaknesses and the ridiculousness of what our culture has cultivated, but to understand that you still need help. I'm sure that that's difficult for them to walk. And plus, I mean, the support for veterans has been abysmal.
Yeah, I think a big problem is we have rewarded being a victim, and everybody wants to be a victim now. I had it so hard. I had it harder than you. I can't, like, a big thing that I hear with Gen Z is like, oh, it's impossible. I can't start a business. I can't buy a house. I can't do this. I'm going to therapy. My fucking boss was mean to me. And it's like, man, like, you've got to, instead of taking that all in and victimizing yourself, I mean, use that as a motivator to get out of whatever the fuck whatever your hurdles are.
Yeah, and there's no question that the types of issues that Gen Z has to deal with are unlike any of the issues, or unlike the set of issues that even millennials or previous generations had to deal with. But to act as if Gen Z has it harder than any other generation has had it before, that is absurd. And so there's always been an aspect of life is hard, life sucks, and you have to channel that into the proper things. And people are just not doing that. People are just not doing that. Well, said, life sucks, but I refuse to be a victim. Keep it moving. There you go. Jay said, at this point, is this on the parents? I think there's definitely a huge aspect of parenting, not or parents, I'll say. And again, taking this with a grain of salt. I don't have any kids before you come for me. But expecting the state, the computer, the iPad, the whatever, to raise their kids too much. And so I would say absolutely yes, absolutely, that there needs to be those discussions, because of the fact that if you're a millennial or you're Gen Z, because of the fact that you're not, excuse me, what did I just say? Try that again. If you're millennial or Gen X, you're not going to, just what I was saying, you're not going to have the lived experience of what a Gen Z kid goes through. And so you need to be able to discuss those things with your kids. And that takes vulnerability. That takes humility. You have to be able to say, I don't know all of the things that that I need to know here. So talking to other parents, talking to experts, talking to, keeping in touch with the teacher, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't fucking have kids, but do something. Just because your kid isn't out committing crimes, just because your kid isn't, sitting in their room doing drugs, doesn't mean that they're not getting themselves into trouble. So absolutely yes. Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Said inflation victimizes all of us. That's not a mentality; it's a reality. It definitely is, a fact that we all are victims of stuff. But the notion of pretending, or not even pretending, genuinely feeling like that victimization is the end all be all, is not the way. Welcome.
Use
to
that
the
as a
party.
motivator to get out of whatever the fuck whatever your hurdles are.
Yeah.
And use that as a driver.
I really feel like I've learned so much from you. As you were saying, Sean.
I interview a lot of super successful people, some of the world's most successful people on my show. And everybody, I mean, you have to turn yourself into an innovator. When you figure out, well, what are you jealous of? That's what you want to be. So figure out how the fuck to get there, map it out, and figure out a way to get there. I've had tons of people that come up and even the employees of mine, they're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. And it's like, well, have you talked to a fucking loan officer?
Yeah. That's the craziest part is,
I mean, it doesn't really matter if you, like, as Liberty Plus is just saying, inflation does victimize all of us. So it's not out of nowhere that these kids are feeling this. And so that's kind of what I was just saying, is to be able to get to the kids to realize there is a societal reason to feel kind of helpless. But just because there is that feeling doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, doesn't mean that you can't do things, doesn't mean you can't accomplish things. And like Bill said, doesn't mean you can't live and find satisfaction in your life. Bill says inflation, absurd housing costs, high rents, high food costs, high energy costs. The boomers were the last generation to make more than their parents on average. Yep. And it has gotten worse over time. Gen X had it better than millennials, who had it better than Gen Z. And yeah, exactly. So especially if you are, if there's a generation in between you and your kids, going back to what Trey was asking, it's important to not just believe that because you were a kid once that you know what it is. Before we used to talk in generations because it used to be similar. If you were born in 1970, then you're probably going to live a similar type of life than someone, what did I just say, 1970? Then someone who's born in 1978 or 1982. It's not going to be drastically different, but it's going to be very different than someone who was born in 1990. But now there's like micro generations where it's like 5 to 10 years, and then the world looks like a completely different place. So to think that we know what, again, speaking generally, do you think we know what our kids are experiencing when the world has changed so much? It's just not a realistic thing. You're good, buddy. Don't worry about it. Box said, I place a huge chunk of inflation problem on Trump. The Trump check was UBI. Money printer went burr, and now here we are. Trump set that ball in motion, or Fauci and the Wuhan lab set that into motion? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. So it's not Biden's fault that he spent, what, 8 times as much as that when we didn't have a pandemic, but it's Trump's fault for making sure people could work when they were told not to work.
What?
Okay. Trey said, I can understand them having meltdowns and being depressed because as they are becoming adults, the world started taking wild turns. Hell, I'd be having meltdowns. I hear that. And that's exactly my point, that they shouldn't be melting down, but that doesn't mean there's not anything to melt down over. And I mean, D said, Trump didn't right the ship, but Obama and Biden were far worse for inflation.
Bingo.
Yep. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. You're not gonna win that one with you're not gonna win that with me.
Because people would even take the first step
Yep.
to see if, something is possible.
Because they've just heard
Yep.
it all. They've heard all the other victims.
Yep.
Talk about, I can't buy a house, it's too expensive. Oh,
And people don't
interest
want to make
rates are too
themselves
high.
uncomfortable. Like a big thing, if we want to talk about the housing market and Gen Z and houses, is they'll talk about well, starter homes. I can't afford a starter home. Everything is $500,000, but it's like you're looking within 15 minutes of the city. If you're willing to drive 25 minutes, if you're willing to have a farther commute, willing to live in an area that's not $500,000, $600,000,
So that's the balance. The understanding that things have gotten really, 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 really bad. But also, things have been very, 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 very bad before, and people made it. People will always be able to make it. That's why we are here. Bill said part of it was the supply chains breaking down, which drove prices up, and they never fully came back down. If only we had opened those supply chains back up once we knew what the hell we were dealing with. Who was the president when we? Oh, Biden. Gotcha.
you can buy, especially here in Nashville, you can buy homes that are, $250,000, $300,000. It's possible. I have friends that have done it, but for those friends, it took a mindset shift of, is this a priority of mine? And if it is, then you have to act like it's a priority. And you have to say, okay, then I'm willing to drive the extra 10 minutes. I'm willing to buy the house that has not been newly renovated. It's not some custom build, and I'm willing to put in the elbow grease because it's a priority. And if it's not, that's fine, but don't bitch and moan about it. Like if you don't want to make the sacrifices, then live in the apartment, and that's fine, and nobody will judge you. But don't say it's not possible.
Every time you want to try to find success, or if you want something that's hard to get, you're going to have to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to sacrifice. They just
Nope.
want to victimize themselves.
And that's the hedonism. That's the hedonism, that there is an expectation and entitlement to happiness and satisfaction and all of these things without the expectation that you have to work for it. And that's definitely not just a Gen Z thing. That is definitely not just a Gen Z thing, because there's somebody who I don't want to name this person, but it was somebody who let's say just started doing YouTube around the same time I did, and that channel didn't really take off. And my channel's had some great growth, and but after 2-3 years, people are usually have bigger numbers than I do. But that's okay, because I'm doing my own thing where I don't want to copy other people. I'm doing my own thing, and it's not for everybody. But this person seems to be trying to do whatever will work. Like they're just doing kind of vlog style of things that they're already doing in life, and then just putting it online. But there seems to be, and this is somebody must be at least 55, 60. And lately, it seems like this person is getting frustrated that they're not getting views, they're not getting subscribers, their channel's not growing. And there is a frustration with the lack of audience. There's a frustration with YouTube. There's a frustration with external things. Instead of the notion being, okay, the videos that I'm putting out are not bringing people in. There's not a look or a reflection on why don't people want to watch these videos. And I've tried to talk to this person and show the perspective of yes, it's a personal vlog, and people the goal is for people to come and watch because they care about what you're doing, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's because it's you. But you have to build that up first. That's also what I want to do with this platform. And I think I've gotten a decent amount of width with you guys. But I mean, if I'm talking about something you guys don't care, then you're not going to click on the thing. Maybe a few of you, but most of you, I'll skip that one, which is the name of the game. And so you see him getting more frustrated and more internal. And what do I want for this? Why the fuck would I click on a video that's talking about what you want? Give me a reason to click on your video. And so it's definitely not a Gen Z thing. It's definitely the worst with Gen Z, but the entitlement that things are just supposed to happen. Maybe it's because previous generations with the boomers, it did kind of just happen as long as you did the bare minimum. But that's not the world that we live in anymore. And we've got to just accept that. D said, Doge is our best hope at the moment. Until we cut government spending and stop printing money, inflation is here to stay. Yep, absolutely true. And yeah, well, let's cross up. I mean, they are really going hard. If there's some corruption going on there, that is the best cover for corruption ever. So I have trust, but let's keep our eyes out. Also, they think the Constitution says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but that's the Declaration of Independence. The Constitution says life, liberty, and property, not happiness. They seem to think they literally have a right to happiness, which is wild. And again, even in the Declaration of Independence, it doesn't say a right to happiness. It says the pursuit of happiness. Bach said also to be sure, Trump set that inflation ball in motion, and Biden 1,000% just stepped out of the way and let it snowball. I also blame Biden. He is, in fact, more responsible. Agreed.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to sacrifice. They just want to victimize themselves.
And our culture rewards it.
Exactly.
So why would they? With any big leap that you take in life or any risk that you're taking, there comes more responsibility. There comes sacrifices that you're going to make. And hopefully there's a greater reward, but that discomfort is part of it. And I think that Gen Z just hasn't had to experience. That's also part of the helicopter parenting that I think has
But think about this.
ruined Gen Z.
5 years from now, when you walk back up here and you won't be here anymore, and you're like, holy shit, this is my camera setup. This was the shiplet I put up the night before the first interview. I saw your Instagram. You were painting the fireplace or something last night. Like,
yep. I have a on my Instagram, I have a story called My Evolution. And whenever I have big moments, I'll always make sure to add it to this story. And so, come on, my phone never shows pictures well. But let's see. Oh, do it like this. Let's see if you. Oh, god damn it! All right, so day one setup before I was even the Indian Jesus. I just had my laptop on top of a box of Rice Krispie treats. Same microphone, all of that stuff. I didn't have the boom arm yet. It was just sitting there, but it just starts there. And as he kept going, exactly what he's saying, I'm like, wow, that's where it started. And I'm still just some schmuck in my living room. So can't wait to see where we're going. Liberty Plus TV said you have the right to be happy, not to have others make you happy. Just like you have a right to healthcare. Not to have healthcare paid for by someone else. I don't know if I would agree with that, but it's kind of I would kind of nitpick the semantics. So well, what you have it. Bill said a right is something you get without having to do anything. Happiness isn't a right. You can pursue it, but you have no right to it. Bingo. That's kind of what I was going to say. D said gold definitionally cannot be a fiat currency as it is itself a commodity. Yeah, and there's I don't know. I would love to understand like how that became the case. Like, because there's any other shiny stuff. Who's the first person to be like, no, fuck silver, gold. You know what I mean? I don't know. Where did that come from? But I agree with that. At this point, maybe initially. No, yeah, it's a commodity, and so even though you could say like like if we started trading in bottle caps, then, or better example, we started trading we started using bullets as a currency, then that would not be fiat currency because it is the commodity itself. And fiat is representative of the commodity.
I saw your Instagram. You were painting the fireplace or something last night. Like,
yeah, you can see the paint's still wet right here.
That's fucking cool, man. That's a story. That's overcoming, adversity and like it's gonna build you into whatever you're gonna become, which is gonna be some something massive.
I mean,
and
you
I'm
started in
super
your
excited
attic.
for it. I started in my attic, and I did the same thing.
And what a feeling! What a feeling it is to sit down at that laptop setup with the fucking Rice Krispie bars and be like, are we doing this? What? I guess. All right, here we go. I'm Lutch. I'm with the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast, and here's what we're gonna do. Actually, should we do a little side quest on my first ever video? Let's do a side quest on my first ever video. Do by date. Hold on, because we got some from before I was even doing that podcast. We got a bunch of those. Some of my old podcasts that was audio only. All right. First screen grab attempt. This was New Year's Eve 2019. Notice the hair. Well, I don't have my lip ring anymore, but you might be able to see the plugs in my ears and the flat brim hat, baby. This is where it all started. And you can see the box of the laptop still on my bed. Shout out to Akon. Okay, and 3, 2, 1. Oh God! No, we'll do 3, 2. Stoned as a motherfucker. 1, start. Okay, so trying something a little bit different here. I wanted to play with a different background. Obviously, that's just what I was watching. Back in the day when Brendan Schaub had respectable things to say about the UFC. I would have some type of graphic there as a background for the videos. I'm thinking that it could be, something I can update for 1.5. So no, actually, I want the full. I want some type of decoration. I don't have any other decoration here except in the last video you saw, or I don't know what. We obviously not gonna watch the whole thing. I'm gonna be releasing these, or it might be the same video. Anyway, there's on this side of the wall, there's posters, but they're in plastic, so they're reflective. Just playing around with how I can do this, and how I'm gonna do this. So gonna see how this looks. Got the ring light, got that lamp on, got a lamp back here, cleaned up some stuff, and that was in the background. And then what are you saying? Spit it out, bro! Here, say it with your chest. Playing with it, otherwise. And it's funny because I mean that's kind of more like how I actually talk. That very subdued. Like this is me projecting my voice. And I've gotten good at doing that more naturally. But like if and especially those of you who are in the after parties, when we make it to like 3, 4 a.m. and I've been smoking all that stuff, I talk exactly like that. And it's just a matter of building. And so exactly what Sean is talking about. Looking back at that, I feel so much pride that like I'm not that guy anymore. And I wasn't proud of the video when I did it. I wasn't proud of what was, and I didn't actually end up recording anything for another like 8 months or something. So times they are a-changing. Getting into, gold is a commodity. You're bartering when you trade it for goods. Fiat currency is money not backed by a physical commodity. It is backed only by the government that prints it. Fox said growing weed worked like that too. My weed channel still has 1,300 subs. Haven't posted a video there for a decade. The more I did, the more it just grew. There you go. Ha! Nope, that was definitely post. I was gonna say post drug, but I was high as hell there. But no, that was actually I might have been on something. Definitely, I told you guys I was into downers. I told you guys I done did drugs. All right, you thought I was lying, but that was me. Welcome to the party. All right, diving back in here.
Build you into whatever you're going to become, which is going to be something massive.
And you started in your attic.
Me too.
I started in my attic, and I did the same thing. I was just using barnwood that we ripped off a barn and threw it up there, put some lighting up, had no idea what I was doing. And it grew into I mean, now you know where we're at. We're
Yeah.
out of a garage.
Mhm.
And then 6 months from now, 4 months from now, we'll be in a 7,000 square foot brand new studio that we built from the ground up. But yeah, it started in my attic with me and my wife, and that's it.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the video, my first video there that I showed, that was not here. That room that I was in, my entire life was in that room. I've talked a little bit about how there was an old lady from my mom's church. I needed a place to live, but I wasn't even living here yet. I didn't have my own place. And looking back, if I could just say, for no other reason, do a thing so that you will be able to look back and have done that thing. Put one in the chat if that does not make sense, because that was a fucking bar. Shout out to Bill Bradley. Thank you so very, very much. You have a good
Now
one.
that room's a playroom for my kids, but we go up there and it's like, man, can you believe like this is where it started?
Yeah.
You know, and it builds a culture, and it's just awesome, man. Like when it sucks getting started because you don't have all the resources and you don't have everything that everybody else has. But when you build it yourself, then you have everything that nobody else has. You know you can do it.
Well, it's the same way people talk about you. I've told you I had the funniest interaction at my show in New York, where the New York Times came up to me and they were like, "We love Sean Ryan." And I was like, this like lib New York Times, reporter was like, "Oh my gosh, we heard that you like Sean Ryan. You know Sean Ryan. We're such big fans. He won't talk to us." I'm like, obviously.
Surprise. So boxes, you're still on this, huh? So D said gold isn't fiat currency. You can't just redefine words to fit your argument, aka semantic obfuscation. Box said I'm not redefining anything. Fiat, an arbitrary order. The value we place on it is in fact arbitrary. Yes, but the fact that we have placed value in it makes it a commodity and is no longer arbitrary. So the fact that is the value is arbitrary. But once it's established that there is an arbitrary value that is placed in this thing, it is a commodity and is no longer fiat currency. And I don't know necessarily if currency is the only place where fiat fits. I'm sure that, there could be other things that are in arbitrary order that don't have to do with money. But if we're talking about a fiat currency, gold is not that.
So he's not going to talk to you. But you have their attention. And it's like when you talk to these huge network, it's, you're consistently in the top 3. You are making, it's crazy to think about you starting in your attic, starting with, friends of yours, pulling them on the podcast. And you are now having clips of your podcast being played in confirmation hearings. You've interviewed JD Vance and Trump. It's incredible what you've done. You're not.
Damn. So I left that poll up. Is it okay to cry in front of other people? Yes, no, or only for a death? And guess what? Yes and no. We're tied at 38% with 13 votes. That is very interesting. And we can see that there is a crisis of masculinity in that answer. That is the scary part, right? We can't even define, or we can't even agree on how masculinity should play out. Let's keep talking.
Confirmation hearings. You've interviewed JD Vance and Trump. It's incredible what you've done. You're not just changing the media landscape, but you single-handedly are changing the political landscape. You're changing conversations about national security. You're doing, flying all over the world now. You changed. Where were you in?
Romania.
Romania. Haram. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. Welcome.
National security. You're doing, flying all over the world now. You changed. Where were you in?
Romania. Yeah.
Causing protests over things you were doing.
250,000 people showed up in front of the Romanian parliament the next day. But I mean,
what trust? The people valuing gold is a fact. That there's nothing to trust about that. You don't have to believe that people people value gold. That is already an established fact. What trust are we talking about?
Just don't let this shit get to your head. And like I said, like all the way back coming out of my psychedelic experience, I'm just doing what interests me. Mm-hmm. I'm not letting anything else dictate, drive, influence what I do. The minute I get a hint of that, I'm out, and like, just stay grounded.
What do you think?
Gonzag said, I have a dude at BJJ who I consider a good friend, who cries in front of everyone once in a while. It's not a full-on breakdown or anything, but it makes me mad uncomfortable. And that's the natural order. That's not supposed to be the way it is. And I'm sure you wouldn't be like, oh, this is comforting. Oh, I love it. If it was some girl crying, I'm sure you wouldn't be like, oh, the tears. Yeah. You wouldn't be like Tim Walz's wife with the burning rubber from the Summer Love Riots. You wouldn't be like, oh God, yeah. But clear difference, right? A clear difference. And I think that is something that is instinctual that we should pay attention to. And trying to go against that natural order and be like, no, just be in touch with your feelings and just feel all your feels and fifis. And it just, yes, it's better than repressing, but it has its own issues. The pendulum swings. Like I said, I used to try to help, but he usually just needs to work out some shit. Just slap him on the shoulder and give him the "you got this" look. Yeah, and it's. I wish there was a better way to address that. And because I mean, you already said that you're a close friend with him, and so that should be the type of dude where you be like, "Yo, I feel you." Like, but like, keep it together, get in the car, and then bawl your eyes out. If you can't. If you long story giving the ick, if you can't do that, then there's something going on that's not that you need to address, and trying to just shove it down. Clearly, it's coming out when you're I can imagine after having done BJJ for like 2 whole weeks before I stopped 4 or 5 years ago. I can imagine that you're in you know whenever you have like that's right beneath the surface. It's probably a good distraction until you get to that level where it's just I'm giving everything and I don't have that filter anymore. I could definitely see, I remember from when I was doing sports from when I was even younger. And well, I think I had more trauma when I was younger to work out in the moment. But exactly with that, when I played lacrosse, and same thing with playing drums is a very physical thing. It was a good outlet, but sometimes you get so into it that filter of understanding where you are and that situational awareness goes away. So I don't know. D said the BJJ crying all the time is probably hormone imbalance after steroids. Have you asked him that, Guam? That is a very, very good observation.
And like, just stay grounded.
What do you think, talking about following what interests you? I think a lot of Gen Z and just young people in general feel I have to be in the rat race. I have to do this job and provide for my family. And obviously that's a big part of it. And a lot of people can't, change their situation at the drop of a hat. But should a driving force be finding that thing that interests you? Should you prioritize that over something? I don't know. I'd always say prioritize that over something that's safe. But for people who feel like they can't do it, what would you say?
Try.
Like
you have to try.
Yes.
And you're going to fail.
Exactly. I was going to say, it is nobody successful has not failed. Every successful person has failed. Fail, 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 fail. That is the only way to succeed. And going back to that video that I just showed you that embarrassed the shit out of me, it's a there was a line. I had another bar. Oh, the notion of wanting to be this great YouTuber and my video's perfect and everybody loves what I have to say and they agree with me and the nobody misunderstands any of those things. You cannot get there unless you make videos like I just showed you. And you watch that, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, my voice was kind of this, and oh man, you could really see it in my eyes. I get, Morty, come on. I guess I can't be, getting that high before I go on. It's little things over and over and over and over and over. Exactly. Taking L's is like a badge of honor. Taking L's well is a badge of honor. Not just taking L's. Taking L's and learning from it. Taking L's and coming back from it. If you're honestly if you're only taking L's, that's not a good thing. But even if all you ever do is take L's, that's still better than doing nothing. There's a hierarchy. Losers do absolutely nothing. Semi-losers try and fail at everything, and winners fail at everything until they don't.
Try. Like you have to try, and you're going to fail and you should fail. I mean, I failed at a whole bunch of shit. It sounds so cliche because people say this shit all the time, but you cannot chalk all your failures up as just failures. Like, it's an education.
Yeah.
Like, every time you go
Mhm.
and you try something and you fail, like, that's an education. That's a learning point. You have to be able to self-reflect and get over your ego and all the other shit that goes along with it. But you have to be able to self-reflect and dissect your failures and go, okay, what did we learn from this?
Bingo.
Exactly. And guys, if you agree with what Sean Ryan is saying, please do me a huge favor and share this video. Plaster it wherever you can, guys. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link or not. Just by you sharing the video, it tells YouTube to show this to more people. It helps out so very, very much. It takes 2 seconds and it is free. It is free. So please help out the channel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What do we got here? And Guantek said his dad used to beat the shit out of him, which is why he started BJJ. It just comes out every once in a while after he gets a bad mauling. Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, still sounds like something he should be working through other than jiu-jitsu. But, you know, hey, like we were just saying, doing that and crying in front of a room full of men is better than doing nothing. And better than that would be go and deal, use the BJJ to get out of that place where you're so stuck and lost, and give yourself a little bit of confidence and a little bit of awareness, and then that confidence is what you'll use to bring you to whatever the next step of dealing with the your issues with this person with their dad. Box said, no, quote, no man is your enemy. No man is your friend. Every man is your teacher. Wise words. Wise words.
Reflect and
Again, guys, if you could share the video, that would help out so much. Thank you.
dissect your failures and go, okay, what did we learn from this? Why didn't this work? Why did I fail? And then reconstruct it again and make it better the next time. I mean, we fail at stuff all the time. Sometimes I hire the wrong people. We've had guests on that I shouldn't have had. It's like I said, you have to take a chance. You have to make sacrifices, and you have to be you. You can't. Here's another thing that I see all the fucking time. When I started my podcast, everybody had
Imposters.
the purple curtain behind them, you know, and the headset and the microphones and all the little trinkets on the desk. You know what I mean? And I talked about this with Joe when I was on his podcast, and I looked at it and I was like, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, I have to be me. What represents me? I like interior design type shit. I like doing it.
And remember, I noticed when we were watching with Lindy Lee, he had the fluorescent lights on the ground in between the two of them. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting set piece. And so I guess he likes interior design. And more masculinity, being able to say, hey, I am, I'm a military dude, but I like interior design, and not be like, oh, people are going to think I'm gay or fucking beta, like whatever. Just being who you are and knowing that you've done all of the things that if somebody doesn't like it, that's an issue with them. That's an issue with them. What was I just going to say?
What represents me? I like interior design type shit.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say when I first started, when I got all these lights and stuff, I was still in a mastermind where it's like you just pay to be in this little group with a bunch of other creators so that you could bounce ideas off. And I had I didn't have the I didn't have the MAGA hat here yet, and then the chair was still back where the guitar is, so it was just a living room. And then I had the lights, and people in the mastermind were like, what is your setup? Like, why don't you, what does it have to do with your channel? I'm like, what do you mean? It's just a room. Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you should take this, that, and that. I'm like, I don't have that. This is where I live. I don't have any other space. And it's weird to me that so many people agreed in that moment, but nobody has ever looked at my setup and be like, oh, why did you do that? That's weird. I've had a lot of people be like, oh, I like that. I have like we start with the red, I got a couple purple, and then it goes into the blue, and it's just lighting. And for whatever reason, they were like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And I was like, fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Shout out to equality and deference because of vagina. Said, oh, great. She Shapiro. That's not your best work. That's not your best work. I already made this joke. He likes interior design. Welcome to the party. Shout out to Equality and Difference. What else we got here? Thank you again, Box, for hitting that like button. Another one of those things that really, really does help, and of course is free. Well, Nick said, to be fair, he's gotten better. Still comes out every once in a while, but he's become a lot stronger since he started. I like to believe it's because he's around a bunch of other supportive people, not just the BJJ. I think you are right. Yeah, maybe he just needs to kick his dad's ass. I mean, sometimes it's just that simple, right? Sometimes it is just that simple. All right, let's dive right in here.
Have to be me. What?
No, the fuck it. Not if he was beating your ass. 31 is a little bit old to beat a child. So,
Like, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, I have to be me. What represents me? I like interior design type shit. I like doing it.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to design my own studio. I wanted to put things in that like meant something to me, you know, like I wanted that sign. Everybody that comes on the show signs that Vigilance Elite sign. Now it's like a museum over there. But anyways, like
It's 100% you.
Yeah, it's 100% me. I wanted good camera aesthetics. I wanted a moving shot. I didn't want equipment in the shot. I wanted something totally different than I wanted to
Except the lights.
call it a show instead of a podcast.
Yes. Oh my God. Speaking of, the lore, you guys will know if you've been here for a while. But love Mama Lutch, but she is so good at getting almost the right gift for me. So, for forever, when I was drinking coffee, I always drank hazelnut coffee. Well, I mean, I still caffeine. I don't know, but I always drank hazelnut coffee, and then as like a stocking stuffer, she would always get me French vanilla. I do not like French vanilla. As soon as I quit caffeine, the very next, whether it was my birthday or whatever, then very next time, she got me a thing of hazelnut coffee. And it's like, well, thank you. You're clearly you're thinking about me, but like, just take a little bit more effort and actually understand. And so when I started this show, notice I don't call this a podcast because I don't like that framing. It's a show. A podcast is something that you listen to on your own, and this is a conversation with me and you guys while we're watching this. So I also had that same little thing, and so I had this mug where shout out to Biff for giving me that, and then eventually when I went to Distant Dialogues, I got the stickers and I put that over. But I wanted my own mug. And so I asked, I told my parents, like, that would be something, that'd be a good little thing, not too expensive or anything. She gets it. I'm like, oh, well, thank you so much. And it says, The Indian Jesus Podcast. Like, I do appreciate it. But we've specifically talked about how it's not a podcast. I don't like that framing and whatever. It's like, is it the end of the world? Of course not. But it's like, with just a little bit more effort and attention, you could have been spot on. Quality and Difference asks, why did I quit caffeine? Because I was not eating, and I am already this size. This is when I'm eating. I was not eating. I was working in an Italian restaurant. So I'd wake up for my shift around 3:30 to get in at 4. Because I was, up late last night, just waking up, get into work. As soon as we go in, down 3 shots of espresso. Then throughout the night, a couple more shots to keep me going. Now the shift is over, but I am white. So we drink it. We going and we going and we going and we going. And then it's 4 or 5 a.m. Time to go home, take it down. Wake up and do the same thing all again tomorrow with no food. So no more caffeine. No good for me. Box said, from my experience, the day you kick your dad's ass, you lose a part of you. It's not a good feeling. I hear you, man. I remember, because again, it was mostly my mom who was the disciplinarian, but she definitely, she definitely got her licks in. And I remember, I don't remember the entire situation, but I remember when I finally felt like, oh, you can't do this to me anymore. Now, of course, she's a little 5 foot nothing, but when you're a kid, it does, when that moment hits. And I just remember, I must have been probably 11 or 12 before I was big enough to actually feel like I could stand up to her. And she went to hit me, and I just grabbed her wrist and I pushed her against the wall. And I was like, "You're not doing that anymore." And I was feeling hyped because I think she went to go call my dad and be like, "Oh, what do I do here?" She picked up the phone. I'm like, "Who are you calling?" Whoa. She's like, "I was gonna call whoever." Yeah, but that was definitely lost. So I mean, it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling in the moment, but the rest of the world, as bad as Mama Watch is, she's on my side. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? D said 18 to 30 is perfect for dad snobbing age. After that, you're abusing the elderly. Yup. Exactly. That is what we're doing. And that's why people kind of don't really know what it is. And I could grow this channel a lot faster if I did more what people were used to seeing. Oh, I recognize this. This is like that. So I want to subscribe to this. But I don't want that. I want to do what I want to do. And if you guys are cool enough, then you'll be here as well. Carly said, just like Stefan Molyneux. Who's that again? I remember the name. Molly and E. This guy. What's his thing? What's his claim to fame? A white supremacist. How am I just like Stephen Molyneux? What are we talking about? I reject that. I am not like a white supremacist. So I mean, I don't think so. Anyway,
wanted something totally different, and I wanted to call it a show instead of a podcast.
Great minds think alike.
You know what I mean? Now everything's a show.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody has multicams, you know, they look better. I had previews for a long time. We just cut the previews.
Biggest Quality said biggest philosophical channel on YouTube until they nuked it. Why did they nuke it? What happened? I definitely heard the name before, but I'm not familiar with any of his work. Guamtech said, Mom tries to play punch me every once in a while, and I slowly put her in a rear naked choke. Now she relies on emotional chokes out and hurts my feefies. Oh man. They know how to do it, right? Shout out to Carolina girl. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. So that went sideways fast, right? Yeah, I didn't know who we're talking about. I didn't want to be associated with that. I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to talk about healthy masculinity. Welcome to the party, Carolina girl. D said he was just basic conservative, but he got canceled back when the left still had power. Oh, so he was a white supremacist. Quali said Molyneux stood up to his own mom, just like you. Well, all right, then I guess I'm like Stephen Molyneux in that way, aren't I? All right. Did I miss anything else? Nope. All right. Welcome, Carolina girl. Let's dive.
No, they look better. I had previews for a long time. We just cut the previews because we have so many guests coming in. Thanks to Jeremy, my new producer, that we just don't have time to make the previews anymore. But
can you imagine? Oh, previews. That's hilarious. I don't know what we're gonna cover usually until like 4 p.m. like 4 hours before.
Really wanted it to be like
previews are not coming soon.
Production that looked really, really good.
And I think also with podcasting, I've seen people say, highly produced, great aesthetic, that kind of, multicam. I think people have attempted that, but they lack the authenticity. They lack it coming from, them. And so they'll brush that off and say, oh, it doesn't work. You got to have the Joe Rogan setup. It's just got to be like you and a folding table. And that's what matters.
Yeah. And that might be your thing. You know what I mean? I'm not discounting that. Maybe it is fold up chairs and a fold up table.
But it has to be you.
Exactly.
It has to be 100% in the fact.
It has to be you.
No, you
cannot try to imitate what other people are doing and get success off that because it's not authentic.
You'll never be better at being somebody else than you can be at being yourself. That seems really obvious, but a lot of people don't seem to behave as if they understand that. Like no matter how good you are at imitating somebody else, you're still imitating somebody else.
And I think, I don't know much about Gen Z, but from what I've heard, Gen Z really craves authenticity. And
They
so
do.
if you're not being authentic, you're not fucking going anywhere.
And it's hard to,
I mean,
I don't want to say find authenticity in yourself, but I think it takes a lot of work. At least this is what I've experienced as been setting up this show. You have to really figure out what is you and what you want to portray and put online and create. Because I think it's very easy to go, I'll just do a show, I'll just do this. But you have to get to the core of, why am I doing this?
Quality said, I suck at being me. I'm better at being Sean Connery.
Why do I care? Why am I having this person on? Why am I talking about this issue? And it forces.
Well, same thing on that podcast I had before I was even doing video. Same microphone for 3 people. Me, co-host, and a guest. We had 1 microphone, and this was it. So build yourself up. We all got to start somewhere.
Why do I care? Why am I having this person on? Why am I talking about this issue? And it forces a lot of self-reflection. I feel like I've gotten to know myself better over the last 6 months of, getting to this point that I, even if this was a absolute failure and never went anywhere and nobody ever watched my stuff again and they were like, screw you, we don't, like you anymore, or whatever it is, that would be fine because I've learned so much about this industry. I've learned so much about being my own boss, but more importantly, I've learned so much about me and what I want and who.
That's a good point too. The aspect of being your own boss. And I'm not my own boss at my job, where I'm a dog trainer. I do work for a company, but it is very isolated, where I set my own schedule. I talk to clients on my own. So I rarely ever actually interface with my boss or anyone else in the company, other than just updating. All right, yeah, I just went to these people, and then I got to go to those people. But I still had a boss. And so there's still that expectation with YouTube. Like I could just not. And I'm proud to say that it's only been a handful of times. I want to say less than 5, but let's call it 5. There's been about 5 times where I've missed the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Only been about 5 that I've missed in the entire time that I've been doing this. And that's so unlike me. That's so unlike me. It really is a testament to how much I really like interfacing with you guys. But I'm a procrastinator. I'm always like in college. I rarely ever got a paper in on time because I was always good at making excuses as to why I needed an extra 3 days or I needed an extra week. And I didn't take a week. I just would wait and then do it the night before anyway. But I could just do it. So I did. And so for the first time in my life where there's nobody saying, okay, you have to do this, I've done it on my own. And that in itself is a good feeling as well. So Brett grew up so fast. I was still kind of retarded at her age. I'm still kind of retarded, but that's not the point. Fair enough. Quality and Deference said I didn't like you to begin with, sugar tits, talking to She Shapiro. You gotta do better than She Shapiro. That's not a good nickname, Equality. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not a good name. And anyone else, if you are on Rumble or if you are on let's try that again. If you are on Rumble or if you are on X, feel free to say hello.
Much about being my own boss, but more importantly, I've learned so much about me and what I want and who I am as a person and as a, whatever you want to call this, personality, whatever, that's worth it for me. But
Don't forget about this logo, guys.
Yeah, it's not easy. You'll constantly innovate. You'll make minute changes. And because it's all you.
We'll count TV as 2. How about that? We'll count TV since he sent the $10 PayPal. That'll count as 2 out of the 15. Check out the top of the chat.
You'll just constantly trying to be perfecting it.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do better? What can we do better? How can we make it look better? How can we make it sound better? How can we crank them out faster?
Yep.
How can we get to the people we want to reach? You'll just start solving all those problems one by one. And
it's exciting to be able to have a hand in it.
Who are you going to go after?
In terms
what kind of interviewees?
Okay, the 2 that I want the most are, which we were talking about beforehand, Amanda Bynes.
Ooh, I would fucking watch that. I think we would have to cover that. Oh, that's a good job, Brett.
So she's a former child actor, came out of Nickelodeon. She is embroiled in a lot of the Dan Schneider controversy. He has an awful reputation in Hollywood. When I was, coming up as a child actor, I don't even know the amount of auditions I would get for untitled Dan Schneider projects. And I was never, I'm not from an acting family. We're not super I would say, Hollywood savvy. And even my mom was like, "You're not going out for any of those. Like, that guy's a creep. We've heard awful things." So she was his protege.
Wait, you were a childhood actor?
You didn't know that about me?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
What were you in?
A bunch of random stuff. I started in theater. My first professional job actually was singing opera at the Atlanta Symphony Opera.
No kidding?
Yeah. Then I did a lot of musical theater and then moved to Los Angeles when I was 10 because I got too tall to do Broadway and theater, which is a whole other
What's that like?
story. They have height requirements if you're under 18. I did commercials, I did TV shows mainly. Like I was on, the movie Heathers with Winona Ryder. Paramount did a TV reboot of that. That was like my big thing. And then it ended up being
What? I missed what you said.
Winona Ryder. Paramount did a TV reboot of that. That was like my
Never
big
heard of it.
thing. And then it ended up being too politically incorrect. So Paramount butchered it and shelved it. I did kids TV.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Equality and Deference is over here trying to come up with a better nickname for Brett over here. I said she Shapiro. It ain't it. She said the sniffer because she has a big nose, but that just sounds like you're calling her a Jew. That's not creative. She said Shapiroette. Better, but put a one in the chat if you like Shapiroette as a nickname for Brett here.
Big thing. And then it ended up being too politically incorrect. So Paramount butchered it and shelved it. I did kids TV, like Gordon McGibbon's Life, Normal Street.
Dude, you just told me you grew up in Chattanooga.
I know. That's where my dad lives. I had a whole other life in LA.
Damn. So when did you move back here?
3 years ago for Daily Wire. Yeah.
Right on.
I had to take a massive risk. I was 19 years old. Moved across the country. Thankfully, it was, Tennessee. I still had family here.
Nobody likes Shapiro. Sorry, nobody likes it. I didn't hate it. I think you could do better. D said Femme Shapiro. Okay, now we're getting closer. I mean, that's definitely better than Shapiroette. Because Shapiroette doesn't really invoke Ben outside. I don't know. Let's get two more, and then we'll do a poll. We'll do two more, and then we'll get we'll do a poll. 19 years old, moved across the country. Thankfully, it was Tennessee. I still had family here. I grew up 2.5 hours away. Shapiro. Spent summers here. My mom would be in Los Angeles. My dad. That doesn't have enough Ben
in there. But
okay,
I was leaving everything I had known for the past.
One more, and then we'll put it to a poll.
Past 10 years of taking a massive risk. I think that was a major piece of growing up that I needed to do. And I had no idea that this would end up being a career or if I even wanted this. I was just, I had nothing else to do. I had decided to stop acting and then had dropped out of law school before I even started. So I was a waitress writing articles for Foundation for Economic Education and just. So for reference, she is 23 years old. She's 23. Pretty successful for 23. Buck said Ben's sister, and Shapiro is good too. All right, so we're gonna put those to a poll, and I need votes. This is important. Law school before I even started, so I was a waitress writing articles for Foundation for Economic Education, and just
wait, you were gonna go from acting to being an attorney? What kind of attorney?
2A. Nice. I wanted to do constitutional. Yeah. Nice. And it was because I was a liberal arts major. I went to UCLA, so I was, an English lit major. And I love writing. I love reading. I love arguing. I cared about trying to make things right and make the world better. And I was like, well, I'm a good writer. I'm good at critical thinking. I guess that means I should go be an attorney. Because if you don't know what you're doing with your life and you were an English major or a philosophy major, you go to law school. Kind of the joke. So I took the LSAT and did all that. And then I realized first day of my orientation, I realized I should not be an attorney. I was like, this is an awful idea. What am I doing? I'm an actor. I'm like a communicator. I'm going to hate this. So yeah, I took the risk and came here. But you learn from it. For somebody like me who did start, on my own from the very beginning, I always thought I needed to be over there, or I needed to be over there, or I needed an agent, or I needed this, I needed that. And I could never. That's where I'm at. Like, oh, I need sponsors. I need guests. I need this. And sometimes it's a scary thing to just be like, okay, why don't I just do better at what I'm already doing? Not that I'm not looking for guests. Certainly not that I'm not looking for sponsors. But instead of putting focus on that, that's going to be a process of being better at this. So our poll is up. Best nickname for Brett Cooper. Shapiro, Femme Shapiro, Shapiroette, or the Sniffer. Hey, a shout out to KFT Carl's Frosted Tips in the building.
King starting us off with a 199. Thank you so very, very much. And of course, we already had a TV viewerski, but that is the first one on YouTube for the Swole Goal. Thank you, and welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, Ben's sister. That was the OG nickname. Box, I'm going to forgo calling her Ben and going the route of Hassan Piker, aka Jank's nephew. Yeah, you said Hassan. I was like, who? Oh, Jank's nephew. Now I know who you're talking about. Hey, Box said, doing my part. There we go. Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you. And so that's 2 plus 2 more from TV. So we're at 4 out of 15, 11 more. And I'm on the floor. Thank you. So very, very much, gentlemen.
Agent. Or I needed this. I needed that. And I could never get anybody to pay attention. And then it's like we went from here to now it's like, I'm sorry. What are you going to do for me? Oh, you're the best? That's what I hear all the time. Well, I'm the best. We're the best. We're the best. Cool.
I've heard about all the agents banging down your door.
Yeah, and it's like,
decline every
sorry,
call.
dude. We're good. Maybe I'll go. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Never say never, right? Yeah. But
does the algorithm work like that? Spam Hassan and whoever. Well, I mean, I guess Hassan would be more of a Twitch thing. Who's on YouTube? That would be good. Don't spam Destiny. I don't know, but either way, I appreciate the effort, brother.
I spent a long time wondering what it was like on the other side of the fence, having never had the opportunity to get there. And then, I mean, so that you already know.
Yeah.
So
that's like
you don't have that distraction.
And I think that is a learning experience that's priceless. I talk about that in terms of education a lot too, because I was homeschooled for the majority of my life, but I went to public school for a year, or actually a couple of years. I started in public school and then I went to like a performing arts high school for 1 year. My mom homeschooled me and then I went to a private online. So I basically did everything except Catholic school is kind of my joke. And,
Carl said, imagine how many people he has killed. And he's just so calm and mild-mannered. Well, it seems to be that if you have killed people, in that context at least, seems to be that's what makes you calm and mild-mannered. At least most of the time, until the PTSD hits. But other than that, like, hey, I've ended people, all right? I'm good. Box, if you say their name in a video, it 100% works. You can basically summon them. All right, well, Box, we'll just say Hassan and PewDiePie, Hassan, Destiny, the Young Turks, Asmon Gold, Mr. Beast. Let's see. If a bunch of people flood in and y'all don't be doing that every day, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what we're doing here. So Colin said he kills people. So he was I believe he was special ops, but he is a Marine. Yes. People dead. Jake Paul. What's the other one? Not Luke Paul. What the fuck is Jake Paul and I'm gonna stay until I figure it out. I'm not looking at the chat. Don't tell me. Come on. What the hell is that motherfucker's name? Logan Paul. Okay, Navy SEAL. Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL. I swear I got it before you said it. I swear I got it. All right, diving back in. Logan Paul
homeschooled me and then I went to a private online. So I basically did everything except Catholic school is kind of my joke. And my brothers went to military school. The other ones went to like a boarding Christian school. Like we basically tried everything. And I'm so glad because I can speak to all of it. And I really found out as a young person what worked for me. And I'm grateful that my parents gave me the opportunity to like evaluate that and become self-aware and figure out what was actually right for me. So I think I've taken that into adulthood too, where
that would be Jake Paul.
And become self-aware and figure out what was actually right for me. So I think I've taken that into adulthood too, where it's, I'm glad I've tried everything. I'm glad I've been in both situations. I'm glad I know what works for me and what didn't work.
What's it like going to public school as a child actress?
Horrible.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It sounds like it would be cool to like be the popular kid, but I don't think you would necessarily be the popular kid. I think maybe she's about to talk about it, but it seems like that would be not quite a good situation because you stick out, and when you're young, you just want to fit in.
But okay, so here's the thing.
How much fame were you experiencing?
No, none at all.
None?
I mean, I was like zealous. But the thing is, it's like
Okay, that's true. She wasn't like, talking about Amanda Bynes. She wasn't on that level. So, guys, we're under 15 minutes to hit that swell goal.
I have people like hate comments and they're like, oh, you're a failed child actor. I was like paying for my own apartment at like 14 years old. I
Wow.
emancipated myself at 15, put myself through college, with acting. And I think a lot of people think about Hollywood and they just think about celebrities. But the people who make that industry run are the people whose names you never know, who are doing voiceover. Like one of my most lucrative jobs that I had consistently in Hollywood was doing basically like ADR, so voiceover for network TV shows. So it's like I still to this day get.
I am like, oh, I want to get into that, but I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I don't know. Why would she be mad at Amanda? She just said she wanted to get Amanda on the show because she's been through all that. I don't think so. I think because the way that he is talking about her experience, he's doing what I did and then assume like, oh, she's, everybody knows her. But she was like, no, I'm not even, it wasn't even like I was popular. It wasn't even like I had fame or anything. It's just that people knew that I did that. So I don't feel that at all. Let's run it back a little bit.
Lucrative are the people whose names you never, they just think about celebrities. But the people who make that industry run are the people whose names you never know, who are doing voiceover. Like
Quality said, don't forget about the casting couch.
One of my most lucrative jobs that I had consistently in Hollywood was doing basically like ADR, so voiceover for network TV shows. So it's like I still to this day get residual checks from Blackish, which was that show on ABC, because I went in for like 3 episodes. It's huge network television, so they pay a crap ton of money.
Oh shit. I mean, not that I watched that closely. So, yeah, if you guys know, I was talking about potentially getting into voice acting because the dog training is really slow. And you can't really depend on YouTube. I'm not, at that level where I can support myself yet. And there was a voice actor on TikTok who does, videos and whatever. And, she had a link in her thing. She had a whole course and everything. She's like, if you have a couple questions, that'll take less than 10 minutes. Just send me an email. And so I kind of told her my situation where I'm like kind of in between and I'm not looking to do like anything super full-time. Is this the kind of thing where I can, like take your course and then I could just start working? Or is it something where it's more freelance? Or is it more where you have to like what? And she's like, it's building your own business. You've got to get licenses. You've got to get this. So it doesn't seem like it's, something. So I checked it out as so far as that, but it's, I don't know. We'll see. Just give me more money on here and then I don't have to fucking worry about it. I was told by a client a couple days ago that I should think about getting into DJing if insurance doesn't work out for me. Well, there you go. Box, I would not take a course. You need a manager though. Yeah, I'm not looking to. The weather's getting warmer. I'm really hoping that because I feel like by another couple years, slowly whittling that down, that should be enough time. But it goes how it goes. I mean, hey, if it resorts to that, then I just saw, what was her name, Jasmine Jafar, debating. Was it Alex Stein? Or was it the other guy? I think it was Alex Stein. I completely forget. But yeah, lots of debates in 2 days. But yeah, we'll see.
There's that show on ABC. Because I went in for like 3 episodes. It's huge network television, so they pay a crap ton of money. There were a couple of episodes. They would have me come in with a room of like 10 other people, and there was a big party scene. There was a soccer game, and we had to pretend to be at those things. Like we were just doing voiceover. So you're like, yeah, Mike, get the goal, whatever, like that kind of stuff. You go in for like an hour. And it's called loop, like looping. So I was in a loop group. It's like, and that's like, you have so many actors that you literally will never know who pop in on different TV shows here and there.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Do you have a good one?
And they make a normal living. They're not super wealthy, but they skate by in Los Angeles. They're able to pay the bills. They're the ones who the strikes, hurt the most.
Yeah.
I was actively working, making good money, emancipated myself at 15 for a myriad of different reasons, but was able to, prove to the court at 15, I can pay for myself. I had a part-time job at Trader Joe's to make sure that I had consistent
Wow,
income.
and you thought you'd be a bad attorney, huh?
Oh, yeah. Trader Joe's.
I don't get it. What's the joke? Why would you be a good attorney because you worked at Trader Joe's?
Thought you'd be a bad attorney, huh?
Oh yeah, Trader Joe's is probably like behind this. Trader Joe's is my second favorite job.
Right on, man.
I loved it. So I was actively working. I think the weird thing was not fame, but it was that it. So it was for my ninth grade year. I was 12.
8.5 minutes on the goal, guys. I don't know if we're gonna make it.
Already, I don't know why I did that. I made a PowerPoint presentation for my mom, and I said, I want you to let me go to public school because I want to know what I'm missing. Like, I want to know if homeschooling works for me. I want to know. I want to have part of it was so like psychological on my end. I was like, I want to know what it's like to be like an American kid in like public school. It's gonna be great for my acting career too because I'll be able to like play a high schooler. And so I made this presentation. She was like, I can't deny it's great. Let's try it. And she's awesome. And so we literally moved.
So before when we were talking, because this is about masculinity and that's a mother-daughter story. So, but it does kind of fit in the sense that Brett wanted to do this thing, and she felt comfortable enough with her parent to go and ask for this and talk about what is important to her. And look where that led her. If she had just stayed in homeschool and did this, that, and the other, does it mean that she wouldn't be where she is? It means she wouldn't have went to Daily Wire, whatever? Of course not. But that ability, that confidence in a support system, especially in an industry like LA, is something that most people. I'm not going to say most people, but too many people in that industry don't have, and especially we're talking about child actors. Yikes. I mean, is there any property in the last 30 years with child actors where the kids didn't grow up fucked up besides Harry Potter?
It's great. Let's try it. And she's awesome. And so we literally moved from LA. She rented a house in Atlanta, Georgia, randomly, because the best performing arts high school in the country is in Mableton, Georgia. It's the best magnet performing arts high school. And I had a bunch of friends that were going there. I applied, got in 12 as a freshman. So already I was the odd one out. But I think the thing that was the hardest was not that I was like the professional actor or any like fame, whatever, because I didn't have that. But that I had already been out in the real world. I had, had jobs.
Mhm.
I, had to deal with my taxes at 12 years old. Like I was 12 years old realizing I'm being taxed with representation. Like I can't vote.
Man.
I had to deal with lawyers and agents and managers. I was in meetings with casting directors representing myself.
I thought she was going to say casting couch equality. But yeah, oh man. Do you guys remember the first time you got a paycheck and you're like, oh yeah, I make $8, $10, whatever dollars an hour, $7 an hour, $5 an hour, whatever it is. And then you see your check and you're like, wait a minute. I worked 30 hours at $5 an hour, but I only have $200.
What?
Oh, that's taxes. I'm a Republican now.
I had to deal with lawyers and agents and managers. I was in meetings with casting directors representing myself. And, I was dealing with directors and producers. And I was surrounded by people who were, 15 to 18 years old.
What was your guys' first job? My first job, my first on the books job was Target, but my first job where I didn't have to pay taxes was under the table at a Greek like diner restaurant type deal. The most stereotypical Greek diner ever. What was your guys' first job?
I was dealing with directors and producers. And I was surrounded by people who were, 15 to 18 years old who had never even worked a part-time job. And that was in college as well. My friend group at UCLA, this is, if we want to get into Gen Z.
What happened to America? We did the Boston Tea Party over a 3-cent tax increase. You make a good point. But I mean, adjusted for inflation, 3 cents. And what was that? 17. I wanted to say 1720 something. I don't know. When was it? Who knows off the top of their head when the Boston Tea Party was? It's Carolina girl. It said Piggly Wiggly Deli. There you go. A bagger at Kroger. Quality and Deference said installing flooring. That's a heavy first job. Box said Paperboy at 12. There you go. Busboy at Country Kitchen at 16. Yeah, getting into food service is probably Like I worked at so I worked in that diner, but that was just a short thing. I did maybe like 15 hours a week or something, and was nothing at all. But then I was looking to once I was 15, I looked to get an official job where I could make more money and put it on my resume and stuff like that. And I did not want to go into restaurants because I heard all these horror stories about how bad customer service is and this and that, and servers always complaining about this and that. And so I worked in retail. I worked at Target, my first job. Then I got fired from all these places. Actually, no. I didn't get fired from Target. I quit Target because I went to college. So, okay. Then my first job in college, I didn't work my freshman year. Sophomore year, I got a job at DSW, the shoe warehouse. Just throwing out applications wherever would take me. And then I ended up at a Panera, which was god awful. I was waking up to be there at 5:45 a.m., then classes all day, including a night class. Mondays, I think that was my junior year, were hell. And then after college, I moved back to my hometown. I was transferred from the Panera into there. And again, I've gotten fired from every single job I've ever had, except for Target. And I was living with a bunch of roommates, young, a couple years younger. They were still in college, and they were all working in restaurants. And they're like, "Yo, why are you making jack shit money, barely over minimum wage, when you could be working?" I was like, "Wait, but I thought everybody hated restaurants." And like, well, yeah, but not compared to fucking retail. I was just like, oh, I didn't know any better. 14 years old, bagger at Kroger. And so exactly what we were talking about before, guys, with starting somewhere and just doing a thing. As we maybe have that moment where like, oh, taxes. Maybe we go back to that. But outside of that one moment, think about what it feels like to no longer have to go to those jobs. You don't have to go to the Piggly Wiggly Deli anymore. You don't have to be a paperboy. You don't have to be a busboy. You don't have to be a bagger at Kroger's. You don't have to be doing those things. And you can look back and say that you've accomplished moving out of an area that you don't want to work, even if you're not fully self-sufficient as a person, depending on how old you are. The ability to not be so stuck in this one area is empowering. And when you know how to build upon that, that is when you've got the power. Like I said, we used to have a Piggly Wiggly. They left. Were people stealing? Box said, food and telemarketing, my two shortest lived jobs. Really? I mean, I could go back and work in like if you guys just left and like I just did not make another dime from YouTube, like that would suck. But I could definitely go back to working in restaurants. It's not ideal, but I could definitely go back and do that. Okay, Boston Tea Party 77.3. I was gonna say I wasn't sure if it was right before or right after 1776. Thank you, equality and deference. All right, let's dive back in here, guys. And we are over the 2-hour mark. So if you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
In college as well. My friend group at UCLA, this is, if we want to get into Gen Z, had never worked a job ever. There's like 20-year-olds who were in college, had not, like, they were shocked. Number one, that I was an actor. They thought that was kind of cool. But that I worked at Trader Joe's throughout. They were like, why?
I forgot. Sorry, quality. So our poll, the best nickname for Brett Cooper. Fem Shapiro is our winner with 50% of the vote. But I mean, hey, the sniffer came in second. So, I mean, dilly to anti-Semitism. Is she even Jewish? Who cares? Fem Shapiro, it is. There we go.
An actor. They thought that was kind of cool. But that I worked at Trader Joe's throughout. They were like, why? Like, you can just go to college and not work. I was like, well, some of us, our parents aren't paying. But also, it's like acting isn't consistent. You might book a job here. You might, like, I'd rather have money all the time. Plus, it's discipline. I would wake up at 4 a.m. and go work the 5 a.m. shift at Trader Joe's and then go to college classes afterwards.
Wow.
Anyway, so the whole thing was Weird.
Man, I had no idea.
I know. I feel like we just skipped a whole thing
It's
I could
quite
have told you about on your podcast.
Yeah, well, we'll go into more detail.
But that's why I really want to interview Amanda Bynes. I mean, was the darling of Hollywood. And they
Bro. If you're a millennial and you were not in love with Amanda Bynes at the time, I don't know what's wrong with you.
chewed her up and spit her out, and she was just left hanging to dry and ended up in a conservatorship. She's now out of one. She's like right now trying to piece together her life. And she was trying to get, her certification to be a nail artist. She's now doing painting. Like she's finally seeming like she's not back to her. But in those situations, I don't think, and it's weird to tie that to, the guys in your life, but you don't ever go back to who you were before you were abused, before you experienced PTSD. I mean, I don't think you know this. My brother has schizophrenia. He will never, even if he's on meds, even if he heals, he'll never be the person he was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Before he had his first break. Amanda Bynes will never be who Amanda Bynes was on Nickelodeon at 15 years old that we all knew and loved.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's talked to her. And people have speculated about her. And it's kind of like I know you want to interview Britney Spears. It's like that kind of thing. If you have no idea what goes on in her mind and what she's actually experienced. We've gotten bits and pieces thanks to documentaries and people who know her.
Yeah, it's
I think outside of just whether you watched Amanda Bynes, because Box, I think you're only a couple years older than me. I remember I definitely watched Pete and Pete, but that was more a product of the fact that my older brother liked Pete and Pete, and he would put that on. And I mean, obviously, I liked it, but I don't know if I would have specifically chosen to watch that instead of like some cartoon thing or whatever else. But and it was and then definitely Rocco and all the classics and these for sure. But to interview, whether it's her or who did they just bring up? Britney Spears. It would definitely be interesting to see because so many people know what's good. We just between Epstein and Diddy, like everybody, people know what's going on. We're just out of the loop. We're just out of the loop. How are you? Wait, Equality, you're American and you don't know who Amanda Bynes is? You've never heard of the Amanda Show? Or all that? You definitely know who this is. There's no fucking chance that you don't know who this is. What's Amanda. Yeah, like, come on. You don't know who this is? Where am I? Yeah, here. No? I mean, I'm 35. You're only a year older. She was everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, even if you didn't have Nickelodeon, I'd be surprised if you don't know who Amanda Bynes is. That's no idea. Well, that's Amanda Bynes. She was the Nickelodeon darling. Her mind and what she's actually experienced. We've gotten bits and pieces thanks to documentaries and people who know her.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to hide it.
I mean, Nickelodeon had them sign NDAs upon NDAs and non-disparagements and all of this stuff. And there are very few people who didn't sign. Yeah, and there what was that other girl that was from the next micro generation on iCarly, the Jenna, something like that. Same kind of thing where she went through a bunch of shit, but she's been very open about it, and you can see how she's comparatively well adjusted. I wouldn't say she is. Well, I mean, she's Hollywood, Nickelodeon, fucking. Ugh. But it's clear that being comfortable enough to be open and tell people about this has helped her. And I think I didn't read like her book or anything, but just, from what I understand, I remember her home life was really bad as well. What? Never seen her stuff, but I do recognize her as a crazy chick now. Okay. I knew you had to have some reference of who she was. Hey buddy, you're the guy that doesn't know shit about video. Yeah, because video games are gay. What? That's not a flex. That's not a flex. I don't know who the most famous person was when we were 12 years old, but now as a 35-year-old man, I don't know about video games. Oh, what a loser. Yeah, miss me with that. Jeanette McCurdy, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Yep. Non-disparagements and all of this stuff. And there are very few people who didn't sign.
Yeah.
And those have been able to speak out.
No, you're gay.
And one did sign, but then wrote a book where the characters were named different things. That was the book I'm Glad My Mom Died. It was a girl from iCarly, Jeanette McCurdy. But yeah,
We were right there.
they've kept it completely silent. And to this day, that guy Dan Schneider, if you speak about him, if you don't say allegedly, all of this stuff, I mean, his legal team will come at you. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're just a random YouTuber, and they have the power to do that.
Hey, Dan Schneider, fuck you, you pedo fuck. Let's see.
So it's like, imagine if they're doing that to people who are just talking about the story. Imagine what they did to somebody who people have claimed and speculated was abused.
Yeah.
So that's my top person. That and Barron Trump. Two very polar opposites.
Yo! Imagine getting the first official Barron Trump interview. Yo, she's got a head on her shoulders. She's got a head on her shoulders. That's what a list. What a list. Barron Trump, Britney Spears, and Amanda Bynes. Crazy. Box said Dan would have set the age of consent at 11. 100%. Yup. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's my top person. That and Barron Trump. Two very polar opposites.
That would be a good one. That would be a good one. So will there be a commonality?
That's actually something, so you were talking about your wife being a partner in all this. Alex, my husband, is very involved. We have
a commonality,
a very tiny team, and he's, I think, the creative genius behind a lot of my best ideas, to be honest. And so he's a strategist. So he's been pushing me on that in terms of, you need to and that's.
Hey, if a woman marries the right guy, that counts as having a good head on her shoulders.
Kind of what I was talking about of understanding yourself.
Equality and difference because of vagina. Thank you so much for stopping by. Even though you're gay, have a good one.
And finding what's authentic is he's kind of been the driving force of, why
so
are you
hungry,
doing this? Why do you care so much? So he's pushed me on a lot of those questions because I have all these people that I want to talk to. It was like, what's the real reason why? And I think it's that you have a story that people haven't heard before. And so it's like with you, when I was like, oh, I should talk to Sean, it's because there's so much about your, not even your past in,
that we don't know? Or is that just me?
Special ops and military, but it's your journey of getting here, your life as a husband and a father that I think people don't get to hear about as much.
I love being a dad. It's awesome. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
The balance between, especially being an entrepreneur, the balance between being a husband, a dad, and an entrepreneur is really tough.
How do you make it work?
We talk about this a lot on my show. I always ask these ultra successful people, how they find the balance. Nobody has the answer.
Because there is no the answer. If there's anything that I've learned at this very, very, very early spot in my career, at least in this space, is that there is no answer. You've just got to do what feels right, and some things will work and some things won't. Like in the same way that if you're just talking to people for the purposes of being friends, sometimes you're going to say the wrong thing. Sometimes you're going to piss somebody off. Sometimes you're going to rub people the wrong way. You just got to do what you got to do. And without a masculine frame, without the ability to understand, I'm me. Lutch is about this. If you don't like it, I wish you did, but it is what it is. I'm not here to be a dancing monkey. I'm here to spread my ideas and to hopefully build a community to better our country, if not our whole world. But let's just start at home. That's what I'm doing. Maybe you don't care about that and you think I'm, goofy and funny. Maybe you're here, you just like the dog, or maybe you're down with that. But either way, that is what is happening here. And I'm going to attribute this to me. No,
how do you make it work?
We talk about this a lot on my show. I always ask these ultra successful people, how they find the balance. Nobody has the answer. But, I've kind of chopped it up.
Was that to me? Because I rewound it and I realized he didn't actually say much except for that they don't have the answer. Amen to him or amen to me? Buck said the one thing I know is if I think it in my brain, that is not what it will look like in the real world. On one that I'll try that last sentence one more time. Shout out to Shifty Shady. What up? Welcome to the party. We are talking about masculinity with Sean Ryan on Brett Cooper's first podcast episode. Welcome. Gronzek said balance is so hard to reach, but with enough hard work, you can get to a point where it's easier to balance. Yeah, I think balance, or this is kind of cheesy, but I think it works. Just like the gymnast on the balance beam, it takes skill and practice to be able to do that. That is a skill, to be able to do the flipsy, the stick the landing, all of that. I think balance in life is exactly the same thing. It's just obviously a different kind of balance. But you have to go through and fall too far to this side, too far to that side, fall flat on your face, fall on your ass, and realize, oh, I was leaning too far back. Or, if you want to make it more cool, when you're learning to drop in with a skateboard on a vert ramp, you have to learn that you can't be hesitant, because then the momentum of your body and your body weight and everything, it'll slip out. The board will slip out and you'll fall. You have to be able to go with it, or you will fall. And that balance of, obviously you don't want to fucking throw yourself off the thing, otherwise the poor's going to stay up there. That balance is, the way to go. Shifty Eyes Shady said, I'm the guy with the God Bless hat in Newark. Hey, well, welcome to the party. Very good to see you, brother. A cool little chat at DebateCon. Welcome to the party. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and welcome to the party. Box said I could drop in. There you go. Typically it's not super hard. It's just one of those things where you have to do it. You remember when we were talking about, I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. We were talking about knowledge, and I think it was when we were talking with Alex O'Connor and Dwight Schrute. And they're talking about, let's say Mary is in a room, and she has every book and all the information that you could possibly have about the color blue, the wavelengths, the how it makes people feel, all that kind of stuff. She still is going to experience something new when she first sees the color of blue. And that experience is something that we have to value, and we have to understand it doesn't come without doing the thing. Whatever the thing is, you have to do the thing to do the thing. You know what I mean? All right, diving back in here. Again, guys, we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark, so if you'd like to finish this,
nobody has
a little bit will do it.
But, I've kind of chalked it up to, if you can go home and your kids are happy, legitimately happy, like if you go home and you feel and experience joy in their lives and you see it in their eyes, and the same with my wife, you must be doing all right. Mm-hmm. But there's always this tremendous amount of guilt. And the other thing is, me and my wife have a framed, I don't know, 24 by 2.
So before he goes down this road, I guess specifically any of the husbands, I don't know how many, I think Gomtech, you might be the only husband here right now at the moment, but forgot what he said. What did he just say? Guilt. Yeah. Do you know what he means? Tremendous amounts of guilt? Because I don't. He might be about to explain it, but I'm curious if you know already what he is saying.
There's always this tremendous amount of guilt. And the other thing is, me and my wife have a framed, I don't know, 24 by 12 maybe picture frame that we nailed to the wall, and we just have all the years stuff that we want to do and things that we want to accomplish. It's like our goal.
So don't tell me yet, Glomtech. I want to see if before he says it, I can kind of tap into what he's saying.
Do it every January. Some of the things on there, one is just don't make anything about money. Just don't do it. Then you become a slave to something. I don't know, man. I don't know what the perfect balance is, but I think that's
So is the guilt just about the balance, about I'm not doing, the constant pull between I should be working more, but I should also be spending more time with my wife and making sure, our relationship is good, but I should also be focusing on the kids, and you can't split yourself up enough. Is that the guilt that we're talking about. Shout out to Boss with the $5 make you holla. Said if you are not willing to be a fool, you cannot become a master. Shout out to JBP. Well said, well said. If you are not willing to be a fool, you cannot become a master. Tell me I didn't look like a fool when I showed you that first video. Like, hey, hey, what? Is this a TV or like something? That was pretty foolish. Look at me now. I mean, I'm still a fool, but you know. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. Very much appreciated. Everybody, hit the like on that super chat because you know that means the party rages on. Thank you. Let's grab this from Guam Tech. So you never feel like you'll be able to live up to the standards and wear all the hats you need to keep this boat afloat. There's not enough hours in the day to be perfect in it all. As Joe Rogan says, all men lead lives of quiet desperation. Well, that part I definitely understand, but I guess there's no way I could really I mean, intellectually I get what you're saying, but yeah, I that's why I didn't get it. Because I mean, I have that level of guilt if I decide not to do a stream, or like the fact that I could be spending more time editing clips of the show, or I could be going to more conferences or that kind of stuff. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have a shit ton of responsibilities. You know what I mean? Box said, that is not a Joe quote. Henry David Thoreau, a transcendentalist philosopher, wrote most men lead lives of quiet desperation in his 1854 book, Walden. Well, damn. Coming with the source.
You become a slave to something. I don't know, man. I don't know what the perfect balance is, but I think that's like the most important thing is if you can go home and you can not only experience, but you see joy and happiness in your kids, in your spouse's eyes, you're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, family is more important than anything.
Where I was going with the don't make things about money thing.
Guys, I am all ready for the members. I am all ready in the after party, so make sure you are there because I'm not going to sit around and wait for nobody.
Is if you start making everything about money, you'll be on the road all the time. Like one of the things I learned with the agent is like, before
we get into that, Shifty Eyes said, I'm not sure. I want to live a life of quiet desperation. Too bad, because the problem is, if we started this discussion off with a poll about crying in front of people, and if you're the kind of person who is not able to live that quiet desperation, then it's going to be a very loud desperation. The idea being that there is no such thing as escaping that desperation. So you could do it quietly, or you could do it out loud. But you're way better off doing it quietly. Box said, quiet desperation is kind of an English thing. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a male thing, but whatever.
About money, you'll be on the road all the time. Like one of the things I learned with the agent is...
Oh, I missed this. Gonchek said, I know I'm going to fail in many areas. I can only hope to know which parts are able to be sacrificed at the right times to benefit the most. Yep. And that is another aspect of, I definitely get that there is no rule book. There's no guidebook. There's no instruction manual. And, we often will look at people who are too useless without that direct instruction. People who always need somebody above them to tell this is the right thing. Otherwise, they're just like, well, that leads to dogmatic thinking. Whether it is dogma in God and the Bible, or whether it's dogma in your trans activists or the state, either way, not good. Not good. Yeah, maybe not the brightest thing, but it is interesting.
Everything about money. You'll be on the road all the time. Like one of the things I learned with the agent is like, I want to be a businessman. Yeah, of course I want to be wealthy and make a lot of money. Who doesn't, right? But the one thing that I like with the agents and everything is I had to be everything. I have to go on a speaking tour. I have to write a book. I have to do the podcast. I have to do more podcasts. I have to, and it's like,
I'm glad, Gromtek, I'm glad that we had that little exchange before he articulated it, because I felt like I understood that's where it was coming from, but I wasn't fully sure. And guys, if you are new, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button. I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, but also sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. So I just need a small loan of $100 million, please. Hey, if you could turn it into 40 billion, let's go. No easy task. No easy task. With only 6 bankruptcies, right? Shifty Eyes said in here, I thought the choice was desperation or not. Oh, honey, sweetie, baby. I mean, you could delude yourself into thinking that there is no there is no desperation, and I'm sure some people have found ways to get around the deepest, darkest parts of it. But we all know that life is suffering, and the human experience is dealing with pain and overcoming that. And even from a religious perspective, then the need or desire to get close to God should be, or I don't know what it should be, but often is a way out of that desperation. And it could be better or worse, but I don't think most religious people of any stripe would say, because I have my faith, then there are no issues. And again, specifically with the man part here, is that women are allowed to just cry. Now, in today's world, so are men, but doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Be a fucking man. Suck it the fuck up until you get home. Then cry home. That's fine.
I have to do the podcast. I have to do more podcasts. I have to, and it's like, you're basically starving my kids of a fucking father, and you're starving my wife of a husband, all for money, which there won't even be any time to spend the fucking money because you guys have sold me out. Every minute of my life would have been sold out. And so that's why I got rid of all of them. And
that's something, you guys know I have the utmost regard for Papa Lush, for my dad. But there's one, and he is, I wish I had his work ethic. As I was just saying, outside of this YouTube channel, there's nothing ever in my life ever that I've cared about in terms of doing work or doing things that didn't directly benefit. I mean, I love you guys. I'm having a damn good time. But if I didn't think this could be something that I could support myself on, we would not be here this often. Maybe every once in a little while. But point being, I forgot. What did he just say?
Minute of my life would have been sold out. And so that's why I got rid of all of them.
I had it. Hold on. What was I going to say? That's the second time this happened tonight. What the fuck happened? Get your shit together. Get it together, man. Context, I only work so much now. That's what. Okay. I only work so much now so that I can eventually afford the time with my family. I want to afford time, not a mansion. That's what I was going to talk about. The work ethic of Papa Lush. And, he's 73. And, he and my mom are talking about moving. But not retiring. And it's like, okay, I hear that. Like, that your kids don't talk to each other unless it's a holiday or you remind us that it's one of their birthdays, right? That I don't know much about anything about my brother or my sister. That I don't go beyond niceties with my mother. As the patriarch of this family, is that not something that kind of, at least a little bit, falls on your shoulders? I don't know. I'm not a father, never had kids, but all I can say is I definitely wish that my dad had more of this mentality, because I mean, again, I genuinely do not know how much money they have, but like they're not poor. So context said you can always make more money. You can never make more time. Yep. Buck said I just want a house, not a big house or an expensive house, just a reasonable house I can call my own. That's what most people want. Most people, like, even if they talk about how fame would be nice and being rich would be nice, that's not what people need. People just need a place to feel comfortable, feel safe, and feel at home, like that specific feeling of at home. Now, I wouldn't say that you can't get that renting a place, but you know, I rented everywhere before I was here, but it's just a little different, little different. Oh yeah. All right, let's dive back in. Yeah.
Every minute of my life would have been sold out, and so that's why I got rid of all of them, and I went another direction. And I didn't want anybody in the entertainment business, whatever. But I want to build other verticals that don't involve me all the time. Like I'm not going to do it, man. Like,
I think, which book is that? That's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? The 4 quadrants, right? Am I off on that? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, quadrants. Yeah. Say, Dad, you taught me something. Kiyosaki. What's the best way? Let's do this one. So, you know, people don't necessarily think about if they, if they want to get into working for themselves, there's different ways to do that. So, you know, in a, if you just have a normal job, you're an employee. So you have a job. If you're self-employed, you own the job. So I'm self-employed by this channel. I own the channel. But if I stop doing the videos, then the job goes away. Being a business owner is where I own a system and people work for me. So maybe I would have a network, and I run the network, and there's 6 other people that do the content. Now, the investor is when you don't even have to do any of that. You just making mailbox money. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad quadrants. That is, hey, I mean, if you want to improve your monetary life, read that book, Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, he's been pretty based in the past few years from what I've heard. But yeah, he is the one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, that's a very business term, right? Box, I prefer Dave Ramsey over Robert Kiyosaki. Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki for the algorithm. Let's go. Hey, I mean, either way, it's better than nothing, right? But both will definitely give you a framework to look at your money, your life, and be able to think about things in that manner.
Involve me, business, whatever.
Let's get the verticals.
But I want to build other verticals that don't involve me all the time. I
should have kept that up, but that means outside of being an employee, outside of being self-employed, he wants to be a business owner or he wants to be an investor.
I'm not going to do it, man. Like, yeah, I probably could be making 10 times the fucking money I'm making right now, but I'm not going to do it because my kid won't have a dad and my daughter won't have a dad and my wife won't have a husband. I mean, we all know how that story ends up. Then you have kids with no fucking masculinity in their life and they turn out to be a disaster. And I'm just not one.
Me until 30
to make that trade. I don't know where I was going with this.
That was a good rant. What is the key to your relationship with your wife, do you think?
Communication and openness. I bounce everything up.
Quantek said, love Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Dave Ramsey's okay. I feel like he's only 2/3 right on most things. Smarter than me, for sure. Smarter? I mean, better with money, maybe. More able to address. Smarter? I don't. Dave Ramsey rose me the wrong way. So I'm just going to we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Your wife, do you think?
Communication and openness. I bounce everything off my wife. Every business decision, every person I'm gonna.
I cannot hear that word without hearing the fucking Tool bass line.
hire. I mean, everything.
She's a partner, truly.
Yep, she's a partner. I mean, even though she's not
partner, I barely even know her.
You know, she's not at the beginning. Like, I couldn't have done it without her. She was literally, we taught ourselves how to run the cameras. Now, you know, she's the mom, and she does a phenomenal job. But it's just always checking yourself, you know, and being open and dropping my ego. And when she tells me something like, "You're working too much. You're working too much," and then you come home, like, this is the latest one, and this was probably a month ago, and it made me feel like shit. But
hanging out the dirty laundry.
it was right. You know, she's like, "You're working too much. I know you know, you've tripled your team since October, but you're gone all the time. You're constantly at work. You're trying to get things going."
And the kids don't fucking care. The kids don't fucking care. I can now, as an adult, it wasn't until college that I even understood the degree to which being able to go to college and come out with zero debt. I did not have a frame of reference for how much privilege that actually is. I was going to school with people who, and I went to a private school. Why people were taking out loans to go to a private school, it was 2008. This is just what people were doing. But yeah, people were that I was in class with were leaving school having tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And I can't even fathom that. I can't even fathom that. Like, I mean, there was a minute where I was, you know, doing my drugs and such and not doing well. And I think I had like, I think I maxed out my credit card like $5,000 or $6,000. It felt like the end of the world. It felt like something I would never be able to get out of. And I can't, I don't get it. I don't have the experience to know what it's like to have that on your back. And so, Shifty, yeah, if you're in that same boat, we got lucky. So for all of the shit I'm talking about, Poppy Lutch, dilly to that. But like I said, I didn't realize that until I was 22, 21, 22, 20, something like that. I didn't even notice that we had any kind of money more than the average person until I was in middle school. And so my entire childhood, it was just, where the fuck is my dad? I would see him, you know, so like he would go, let's say he goes to work Monday morning. He's gone before I go to school. Then he's at work through Monday night. He's on call Monday night. Then he has to work Tuesday. Then he comes home, you know, dinner-ish time on Tuesday, and we're either eating dinner, doing homework, doing chores and stuff, and he'll, you know, pop down and relax and before he goes to bed. And so, you know, I'd go and watch like Bill O'Reilly with him and stuff. But that, for the most part, that was after my sister was born, and she's 4 years younger than me, so I was 4. There wasn't much else. We went on little trips. We went on family vacations for sure, but my mom, you know, those were their own. That's a whole other can of worms. And so what I'm trying to say is that, yes, obviously that is a huge privilege. As Shifty I said, we got super, super lucky, but that luck is not the end all be all. And the way that Sean is expressing exactly what Guantek was expressing, that, you know, you're just being torn apart at all these things that are seemingly equally as important. How do you do it? How do you do it and not have that monkey on your back? I do not have that answer for you.
On all the time, you're constantly at work. You're trying to get things going, and you come home late at night. Then you want to talk to me about work, and my son will be spouting off trying to get my attention, and I'll immediately discipline him. And she's like, in his eyes, it's like, who the fuck is this guy? He comes home, hasn't been home all day, comes home, doesn't want to hang out with me.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking to mom. I want his attention, and then he disciplines me immediately. She's like, you have to like reassess.
Now, luckily, Papa Lutch is the softie. Mom was definitely the disciplinarian, so it wasn't that bad. But you know, so like a good example is We knew my brother was a little bit older, so by the time like I'm now realizing what's going on and kind of having a narrative, let's say, of dad's working too much. But by the time having that, it's more me and my sister more than me and my older brother. And there just was, we knew that like on the weekend, let's say he's off on a Saturday, we're like, Dad, let's go kick the ball around in the backyard. We would go out and we would know that like, okay, he's in front of the TV, so we're gonna have to come in and wake him up 4 or 5 times. As a kid, you're like, Dad, come on. What, you're falling asleep. We just want to play. We haven't seen you all week. But as a grown man, it's like this guy was just working nonstop for 36, 48 hours. What do you do? What do you do? What do you say? That's why, it's a little bit frustrating that there's not now later in life this same thing that Glomtek was saying about wanting to literally buy time. Glomtek said, all things said and done, I can say the difficulty of family life has only made me better. With such little time, you really learn to get the most out of every little moment you have. Well, dilly to that. Let's dilly to that. All right, let's do this.
It disciplines me immediately. She's like, you have to like reassess and just love him. That shit hits,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
but you just have to be willing to like have those deep discussions and realize like, oh man, I've been fucking up.
I don't know what that is.
It's humbling to have somebody who knows you better than yourself in a lot of ways and knows what you can be and what you could be and knows you at your happiest and is like, this is not it right now. And I think at times when I've been so clouded,
I don't know. Not if I don't know what it is.
I'm just in it and I'm completely, bogged down by everything else, having somebody who's pulling back the curtain and saying, this is not sustainable in the slightest.
Yeah. You have to be willing to listen to the stuff that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's tough to do. And, I think the other thing is like, you have to make time. I mean, you have to make time. You have to be able to separate from all of this, which is going to be hard for you to do because.
Well, it like making time, that notion of oh, it's a video game. Okay, well, I don't really need more video gaming. Why don't you play this? Why don't you? That was a weird thing that happened early on when we have like, I guess we only have 4 people here now. I don't know, but before the election when people were into this stuff, we'd have like 15 people, 20 people in here, and it'd be like, you should cover this. It's like, I'm doing a show. What do you think this is? You're some random person. All these people are members. We got wrenches. You're some rando coming in and saying we should all watch what you want to watch. Talk about entitlement. Jesus Christ. All right. Well, I'm sorry. Just need to rant a little bit.
From all of this, which is going to be hard for you to do because it's here. You know what I mean? But you have to make the time to like,
oh yeah,
be his wife.
Yeah, so making time, that is an aspect that I struggle with because for whatever reason, my mind goes to the lack of rest, that feeling of being tired and like overtired is obviously a very uncomfortable feeling, and I rarely have a reason to not rest when I want to rest. But I don't know, it's put me in this because I'm thinking about like, if I were to have a family, like I spend a lot of time just kind of if I'm answering emails or I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm kind of just sitting around and things are happening, and that's not going to be ideal for having a woman around, especially for having kids around. So I mean, obviously, those things come into your life, your priorities change, and so on and so forth. But it's not gonna be hard to steal me away from my my Netflix binges.
But you have to make the time to like be his wife, and I have to make the time to be my wife's husband and to shut it down and whatever that takes, We go on trips. You know, another thing, like when you have kids, like, and I don't say this in a bad way, but you lose who you were. Me and my wife, like, we have to have somebody come in and watch the kids every couple months.
I like who I am. I'm awesome. I don't want to lose who I am.
Even if it's just a weekend, you know, like, even if like we just went to the Four Seasons in Nashville and just didn't leave the room and did room service and had a great time. But you just
Get
you
it
have to,
in.
it just takes that so that we can get back to being Sean and Katie, you know, even if it's just for 40 hours, even if it's just for 24 hours, but like, it's a great recharge. It freshens you up. It makes you a better dad, better wife, a better husband, a better dad, a better mom, a better wife, because
Yeah, I think it needs, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you need that person to actually be in your life before you can kick into that next gear, at least in that way. In terms of like just doing work and grinding and making money, that's not necessarily what I mean, but like to want to spend your free time, your spare time, whatever you want to call it, and dedicate it to maybe something that you don't necessarily want to do, or yeah, just whatever it is that you don't want to do. That in of itself is a very selfish thing that, by having been single for forever, that's just the way that I live. And it's not a matter of I don't want to do things for you. I'm just very used to focusing on me and Morty. That's it.
you know, you're refreshed. I think that's another key component is just communication, being open, listening to the shit you don't want to listen, that you don't really want to hear, and you know, that connection of who you were before kids, before entrepreneurship, like who you fell in love with.
I want to ask one more question that kind of ties in with that, and I'll let you go. I have so many.
Like I said, the Four Seasons is overrated and overpriced garbage. I totally believe that. Never been there, but seems like just the flex. Yeah, we stayed at the Four Seasons. What about Fogo de Chao? Is that I've never had Fogo. I may have, because I went to dinner at a place where they had the fucking the Brazilian meat where they cut it off the thing. But I'm pretty sure it was I was younger. We were on vacation. This is my family. So it may have been Fogo de Chao, but I feel like it wasn't. I feel like I would remember that. But opinions on Fogo de Chao as we get into our last
many young people
question
who watch the show. And I think one of the biggest issues with my generation is obviously dating. We weren't taught how to date. Like, you know, I always joke that like my first dating experience was on Snapchat. Like I was never asked out in person. I was always, you know, people slid into my DMs, or we downloaded Tinder and Hinge. That was the first way that we dated.
First way I dated was I switched churches. So those of you no, I'm an atheist, but I was born into the Catholic Church, and I was confirmed in the Methodist Church. So after some stuff, not that kind of stuff. Some my mom and the father had a disagreement, we'll say. And we went to a different church, and it happened to be a Methodist church, and their youth group was much more engaging than the Catholic Church. Surprise, surprise. And there was a girl, and it was just so much easier to be around people without like I didn't have to like hit on her. I didn't have to like show and like claim, like we just spent time. Wednesday was youth group. Sunday we had it's Sunday school. And then, we would text you out of the week and whatever. And that developed into a pretty legitimate, serious relationship for two teenagers. We were 14, 15 when we got together. We were together for 3 years. And I don't really know what my point was there. Oh, yeah, about meeting people. And the same thing with my college girlfriend is she had a boyfriend when I met her. But I was in classes with her. I lived in the same building, and just being able to spend time without the pretense of, look, I'm trying to get it in. I literally watched them bring out churros with smoke surrounding it under a glass lid. I'm like, the last thing I want my churros to taste like is fucking smoke. Well, did you taste it? I mean, you can't say it's bad if you didn't taste it. If you were there, I can understand why you don't need smoke on a churro, but if it was there, like, I'm definitely getting the smoked churro. What are we talking about?
So there's a lot of like societal issues in that regard, but I think people are just struggling. And I think a lot of people also don't know what to look for or even how to present themselves. But specifically for young men, when you're dating with intention and you're looking for the person that you want to marry, I guess what would you advise young men look for in women? I think because this can also help the women too.
Yeah. Man, what would I look for? I mean, you obviously
He doesn't fucking know. If you've been out of the dating market for 5 years, whatever you have to say is probably irrelevant to starting dating. It's probably very relevant to being in a relationship, but in terms of dating, it's probably irrelevant. Well, we tried, right? We tried.
they have to be attracted. You know,
Mhm.
it's just not going to work if you're not. But it doesn't mean you have to get the centerfold playmate, you know? And
I mean,
I think that's just ego. And I think so many men, like, that shit wears off, man.
yep.
It does. Like, I don't care who you are.
What's the old line? Show me a hot girl, and I'll show you a dude who's tired of her shit.
It wears off eventually, and you're just going to want more and more and more and more. And so, kind of what I'm getting at is just one, like, when you go out and you're meeting people,
Find one and stick with it.
like, you have to be yourself. Like, you have to.
That's another thing. Oh my God. I am so glad. Like, I've had a couple pregnancy scares. They were with girlfriends, but, you know, I've been not perfect. And that, oh my God. I would not be a good person to have a child. Now you guys fucking show up. We got Indy. Bam. Welcome to the party. We also got Matthew King. Welcome. So I can give you advice on what to look for, but I have no clue how to meet people anymore. Bingo. Yep. That's exactly what it is. You do? You have 5 kids with 2 women? All right. Well, keep it in your pants, bro.
To be yourself, to see how you actually connect with the other person. Because if you're being somebody else to try to impress them, then you're building yourself into a fucking character.
Lucky you.
And you're going to have to be that character for the rest of your life, which is exhausting. It's like imprisoning yourself right at the very beginning.
Right. And that goes all the way back full circle about being yourself, being authentically yourself. You are going to suck no matter how good your impression or iteration of somebody else's personality you can do. It's still going to suck compared to you just being authentically yourself. Lean in and say it with your fucking chest. Whatever it is. Remember when we were looking at the debate on Jake Rattlesnake's channel? It was that guy Jim Bob. It was the 2 Christians and the 2 progressives. And they were trying to corner the progressives into this thing about, harm and consent. And they came up with this crazy situation with Grandma Mimi. And they were afraid to say, okay, according to my principles, yeah, that's fucking weird as shit, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have to be able to do that. Folks, so I can drop some bro math. All right, go for it. Shifty Eye said, yeah, I have no idea how to meet people anymore either. I was in a 10-year relationship, and now I'm single for like 4 years in my early 40s. Yep, we're all in the same boat. I mean, I wasn't in a 10-year relationship in the last 10 years, but I was in 2 different 3+ year relationships. And that's another thing I think that kind of got in the way for me personally, is that in my formative years, from 15 to 23, there was only 1 or 2 years there where I wasn't in a long-term committed relationship. And that's when you're in school, when you're in college, when you're, your experience to kind of explore, Matthew said, that's my best advice. Just be you and don't try to impress anybody. You don't have to be negative, but don't be too available. Balance. It's almost like there's a theme here. Oxford did 10 years, then 5, back to back, and tapped out. It was like 3 years, 10 years, and 5 years with girls in between. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, because I was so young when I met my high school girlfriend, I was I was 13 or 14 when I met her. We started going out. Lost my virginity. I was 15. And then, I hooked up with a couple girls after we broke up when I was still in high school. Same thing when I went to college. It started, I've always been very focused on like, oh, I want that. And as soon as I see what's for me, it's for me. I'm very picky, but other than that, like if I don't know what it is, I can't put my finger on it, but I can put my finger on it. And I just didn't have a lot of experience having to compete in that in the way that we have to compete now. So I just don't.
And so you just have to be yourself and see how you connect with that other person. And if you don't connect, what I see a lot of young people doing too is they try to force it. Like, oh, I can make this work. If it doesn't fucking work and there's like not the connection, if you can't be yourself, that's not who you want to be with, man.
It's like the scene in How I Met Your Mother. If you guys would watch the fucking show, then you would get my fucking references. But the main, one of the main, or two of the main crew, or the perfect married couple, met in college, lifelong sweethearts, whatever. And there's another guy who's their friend that's getting married, and the Ted, the single guy, and Marshall, the married guy, go in, and they're trying to make sure dude, goes through with his marriage. He's like, I don't know, man, I could sleep with all these women. He's like a fat dude, whatever. Like, you might sleep with women, but the single guy's like, yeah, marriage is the big. And he's like, how would you know? You're not married. He's like, all right, well, look at my friend Marshall here. He knows. And he's like, dude, don't get married. It's like, what are you doing? We're here trying to make sure these two are married. If it's that hard, he was saying, then don't get married. Because yeah, it is hard. But wanting to do that hard thing should be the easiest decision you ever have. Now, it's a sitcom. Part of the reason why I needed the red pill so bad. But the point remains. Be who you are.
Not the connection. If you can't be yourself, that's not who you want to be with, man. It's not. There has to be a natural human connection. And if it doesn't, quit trying to force it. If there's not a connection, that's okay. Move on to the next one.
Why waste the energy?
Exactly. Too many people try to force it. And
that's rape.
It just never works out.
Connection first.
Yeah.
I think the theme of you is being 100% yourself, which is a testament to you. I think it's the reason why you've blown up in the way you have. The reason why your marriage is strong.
Well, thank you.
It's a good thing. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Best of luck. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Shout out to Brett Cooper and Sean Orion. So, hey, if Brett Cooper is going to get guests like Amanda Bynes and Barron Trump, we might be covering this more often. Now, this was more for Sean because of the fact that we've covered him before, and I didn't really know too much about him. And this seemed like a good framework to learn who he is. But I'm here for it. I am here for it. Another last minute. Wait until the show is done. Welcome. Good to see you. Dylan Soup. All right, the bro math from Boggs said child support is a function of your income. I will use round numbers to simplify things. These numbers are not to scale. You make $1,000 a month, one baby mom, one kid, $100 a month. Okay. And then, okay. You make $1,000 a month, two baby moms, two kids a month, $100 a month each. So still $100 a month, but each baby mom gets $50 a month. That's weird. And so it's just, because it's just based on your income, right? So I would assume the next one, you make $1,000 a month. You have three baby moms with three kids, $100 a month. And yep. All right. I don't know if that's bro math. Sounds kind of like just math, but I feel ya. I do not envy you. It is that's a lot. Yeah, 100 kids, $100 a month. So I think that's the key there. I think that's the key. If you're on child support, you may as well just keep it, just keep it coming. Just keep it coming. Jokes. I say they basically max you out immediately, then split it amongst the moms. Bro math. Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, I very, very much appreciate you guys hanging out. Unfortunately, we did not hit the swole goal, so Morty gets no treats, and I will not be doing any push-ups tonight. Oh yeah, staying skinny. But I very much, I know, yeah, it seems that way. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. Like, well, we're gonna be here, may as well, right? But I'm very excited to hang out with you guys in the after party. I am already there. Guys, if you are not a member of the Discord, remember, it is absolutely free to join. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. Come on and hang out with us. If you are not a member of the channel, then you still have the free access to the free channel. Chat all your live long day, your little heart out. But if you sign up as a member of this channel, let me drop that link one more time in case you want to come join us. You get access to the whole shebang. There's other text channels that are not public to see. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to be watching the new Captain America in the voice channel. Same place where we are headed right now for the after party. Guys, thank you so very much for hanging out. A big shout out to I should have gone. Wait. Let's go the other way. So we had our boy KFT, Carl's Frosted Tips with the 199 bucks, doing his part with the 2, and then 5. Thank you so much. And TV Viewerski, our sponsor of the stream, with a $10 PayPal. Thank you so very, very much, guys. You know how much I love doing this, and I understand how much there's others hanging out with me and Morty means the world. So thank you so very, very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a like and hit that subscribe. I will be back. I don't know, Monday, Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. I don't have kids. I don't have a normal job like that. It'll be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And sometimes whenever I feel like it, hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Once again, that is the Overlord, aka Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.